It's going.
I ended up getting Ethereum too since it was so low, and like you kind of need Ethereum to do pre-sale purchases and stuff.
Okay, let me share the screen here. Entire screen. There we go. Okay. Can you both see it?
I haven't read the article yet, but it says XRP to trigger countless early retirements.
Okay. Let's see here. Can you both see the screen? Oh, did Amy go AFK? They must be AFK. You're picking up background noise on your mic, Kane.
Someone had a doorstop. It was a rock. Yeah, the rock ended up being worth $1 million.
Oh yeah.
That's great for people. Why couldn't we ever find something like that?
Like a nugget of gold that was just like so dirty you thought it was a rock. And you just used it to prop your door open. Or like a gigantic diamond in that was encased in like, I don't know, sediment or something real hard packed around it, and he didn't know. Oh, talking to myself. Didn't realize Discord had shut off my mic, so I'm sitting here talking on the stream, and you guys aren't responding. Do you guys see the stream?
Yes.
Okay. Kane, can
Yeah,
you?
I do now.
Okay. So I was saying, like about that rock. So like a nugget that was encased in like sediment or something, or a diamond, and you're using it to prop your door open because you didn't know it was valuable. That'd be crazy. Okay, so I haven't watched this yet, but I've been watching him. The cool thing about Rumble is it caters more to like live streamers, and they have this set up so that when you start following channels and stuff and you watch stuff, it like does a whole lineup. Like if you follow Crowder and Tim Pool and the Bongino Report and stuff like that, you start at 9 o'clock in the morning and they just go show to show to show every hour. They just take you to the next thing. So you can just leave it running in the background or on another screen, and it like you have a whole lineup that you can throughout the day. It just goes boom, boom, boom every hour. It takes you. And if you're Rumble Premium, like halfway through the video, you'll see this. It'll go, okay, you're going to be taken over to, I think it goes from Crowder to, shoot, what's that guy's name? I forget what his name. Anyway, he'll show it like halfway through the show. It'll like, if you're a regular user, it'll take you over to the other show. If you're premium, you can click to opt out and keep watching the premium part of the show. So I'm not sure how that will handle here because I don't want to stream stuff that is paywalled because I don't want to, you know, one, mess up my stream. Two, I get Rumble Premium because I was a Timcast member before he moved over to Rumble. So they gave everybody that was a Timcast member like premium for free, basically, which was like awesome. Anyway, so we'll play this, and when it gets to that point, I'll just cut the video there just in case, because I don't want to take a risk of one pissing Crowder off, and streaming stuff that he specifically for premium members.
Welcome to the lineup exclusive here on Rumble. That means it's 11 a.m. Eastern.
Can you hear?
10 God's time Central.
Yeah.
I'm on God's time.
Okay.
So that's us. And then Tim Pool is going to be after us. We're actually going to have Viva Fry on the show today, who is actually up at 3 p.m. God's time, so 4 p.m. Eastern. Guys, don't correct me. You don't need to correct me right away. So welcome, Bongino Army, and of course those people coming in from Vince, which comes from the the Romance language is Vincente, which means I think it translates to that's not a rug. Today we're going to be discussing Liberation Day, President Trump's tariffs. Who are the winners? Who are the losers? There's a lot of speculation out there, and the math is a little more complicated than how it was initially presented. But it's actually pretty easy to figure out. Also, there was a really tragic stabbing that took place in my home state here in Texas. Yeah. And there's a media blackout on it, though it's trending on social media. That shows you that sort of chasm between what affects people or what matters to people versus what the media chooses to cover. And they don't want you to acknowledge that there's perhaps a racial component or dynamic, but there is, and that's why we're not on YouTube. We can discuss it today. Also, a German cop found a murder victim, but it's not what you think. We'll talk about that and more. Enjoy this first. Protests continue across the country this evening, and we want you to know, of course, that though there are some individual protesters who are agitated, it is not the norm. These protests are largely peaceful. Many people look back at the demonstrations at Selma and wonder, what would I have done? Would I have marched across that bridge? Or would I be standing on the other side? Well, I have an answer for you. And my answer is a question. What are you doing now? Now, Tanya, how would you describe the attitude on the ground there? We go now live to our woman in the field, Tanya Franks. Tanya?
Well, Chris, first I want to say that was inspiring. As far as the attitude on the ground, folks are entirely peaceful, but far from happy. Just imagine if every day when you left home, you didn't know whether you'd be coming back. You might be a little upset, too.
Well, Tanya, in my line of work, that's always a possibility, but I know that many in the audience might not understand what that's like. No. Tanya, was that a man on fire?
Hard to tell with the flames, Chris. Might have been a really muscular lady.
So, Tanya, what are the people on the ground saying there?
Yeah, we gonna burn this motherfucker down. 313.
Yeah, right, CBS is open for business, y'all. That's what you need, motherfuckers.
A fitting tribute to the memory of George Floyd, Chris.
Yeah. Yo, who that?
Yo, that's a motherfucker with a grill.
Charged evening, to be certain. Now, some people are asking, why is this happening now? Haven't things gotten better? But there are still persistent and pervasive inequities in this country, and these protests are a reaction to that. And aside from a string of isolated incidents, very small, things have been pretty peaceful, very tame. Any final thoughts, Tanya? Hello, sir. What's your name?
This is a question.
I'm sorry, that was unfair. Allow me to reframe the question, good sir. Where, might I ask, is Tanya?
Oh, she dead?
She did.
Yo, I got an Apple Watch, dog. Yeah.
The language of the unheard. We'll be right back. Click Rumble Premium and join now for $99 annually or $9.99 a month to get the entirely ad-free experience and an ever-expanding roster of content, creators, and free speech.
Do these guys just make fun of like current events and stuff?
They just add a lot of comedy to the
What's happening?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I was just wondering. Oh, that's what it's called, Louder with Chowder?
Louder
Yeah.
with Crowder.
Crowder. Oh.
Question of the day.
I'm
Did
like,
any
oh,
of
I
you
guess you
sleep
like
last night?
Chowder.
Because I don't know if there's a pressure change or something, but I went out to dinner. It was a birthday dinner with family, and I never fell asleep. And then my father came. Everyone who was there said, "Hey, did you have trouble sleeping?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "We never fell asleep." And we didn't eat anything out of the ordinary. It was just, we had a nice a steak dinner for a birthday.
Somebody put drugs in your food?
I think I was dosed.
Well, I popped a fentanyl after dinner, and I was.
Oh, careful! Stock up while you can. Those
There
terrorists
was
spare nobody.
somebody
I'll sell you
selling
some.
drugs in one of
It's
the
11 a.m.
Allegedly.
11 a.m.
restaurants
The
here
lineup,
in
by
our
the way.
town.
Hey, if you're watching here,
And someone
like
failed
it,
a
share,
drug
download
test
the
for
app,
their
follow us there
employer, and they're
because
like, you don't
YouTube's not a
understand,
thing,
like-
and we're not relying on the algorithm.
I'm a nurse,
CEO
like, I don't do
Morgan, glad
drugs,
for you
like-
to be here. You had to
You don't
Uber
under-
because of hail. And Good Nights Comedy Club in Raleigh, North Carolina. A
And
man
then
to my
we'll
right, your left,
eat
Josh
anywhere,
Firestein will be there.
and
May
they
23rd,
said they ate somewhere, and
24th.
they
Go see
actually
live comedy. It's
had
a lot of
reports,
fun.
the
I will
police
be
did,
there. It's not.
of people calling them saying that, like,
They felt funny and stuff.
yeah, like after they ate there, they're like, they think they're putting drugs in the food.
You have to
Like,
watch, yeah, because
Did you-
like, I
did
was
you
like, that's
see,
crazy. Yeah, but they apparently, like the owners obviously found out who it was, right? Um, and they're no longer there, right? But it still like was pretty crazy, because like, yeah, people like some people had to go to the hospital and all sorts of stuff.
yeah, somebody could have died. Like,
that's crazy.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing, someone could have. And like it's funny because oh, that's right. And then the nurse, no, that's what it was. The nurse didn't fail the drug test. She ate there and she went to the ER and was like, "Hey, this isn't normal. I shouldn't feel like this." And they're like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "I'm positive." And they tested her, and sure enough, she had like drugs in her system.
Oh wow.
And yeah, like I don't think it was anything crazy. Not like I think it was just like what is the pot stuff? THC or HTC? I don't know what it's called.
THC. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just that, thank goodness, right? But
Who would
you're
waste their
right.
own money to do that though? Yeah, that's kind of
Yeah,
stupid.
it's pretty crazy. And she's
But
like it, and it's funny because like she noticed it because like she's a nurse. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? She's a nurse. Like
probably
she's like,
always
why?
sober.
Yeah. She's like, why is my why is my heart racing? Why
Did you
isn't that?
did you see the story where it just happened? The janitor was going around to all her workers' water bottles and touching his junk on it and in it and peeing in it. And
What?
yeah, he had herpes and people started getting herpes.
Oh,
And
that's disgusting.
yeah, and how they found out though, he had been doing it for like a month. And the one lady smelled something with her water bottle and she like
Like urine.
questioned it. Yeah, he peed in it, and then they found out, and they started watching. The one lady, she placed the camera, and then they recorded them. Man, it was a
No.
bunch of people too. They all got a bunch of them got herpes and stuff. Oh,
Dude.
Wow.
yeah,
Like,
I
I'd
and
beat
that's
him
like
to death, yeah.
that's like and that's like general herpes, right? I mean, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah, that's crazy.
yep,
That's crazy.
yep. Because
We're
even
we're
like
not
if
talking
it
about a cold sore on the lip. Do you know what
no,
I mean?
no, and then them not knowing, like you know, you kiss your kid, you kiss your
Oh my
significant other, like
god.
Right.
yeah,
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 he's
they should
lucky
have
I didn't
he's
murdered
even
not,
think
him.
about the
yeah.
kids. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That's
Like, 'cause
disgusting.
I don't have any, but like, oh my god, could you imagine? How did you get herpes? My dad, because like that would be
Yeah,
so. You'd
yeah,
have
the
to
fights
explain
between
that.
people, like, yeah, how could you know what I mean? Like, would you, if you got something and then you like went to the
Yeah,
doctor and your
Yeah, you're
girlfriend or
like
boyfriend would be like, "What the
yeah, like
frick?"
your significant other wouldn't believe you at all.
Yeah, yeah, you caused some damage. I couldn't even imagine. Like,
My goodness.
that's
see.
horrible.
A lot of people are like, I'm against the death. No.
No, for something like that, like he'd
When
ruin people's lives and
when
everything.
they
Like,
have people
it's
like that
permanent.
roaming around, we just don't need them in the human race.
No,
Well, I mean,
no,
I don't know. I don't know. I can't say like kill someone, but I'm not there
that's pretty
yet.
awful. Because
But
that's, I mean, like you can't even
that
get rid of
is
that too.
terrible,
That's
though.
just
Yeah,
permanent.
yeah, no, that's
See,
like
see,
definitely imprisonment, though. Absolutely.
you have to think of it. The way I think of it is like normal humans behave in a certain pattern.
Yeah, they
And
do.
if you go outside of that, you're no longer, in my view, you're no longer human. So you are excluded from the privileges, rights, and status associated with being a human being.
Well, he definitely did it
No.
maliciously, and he definitely was trying. You know what I mean? Like he was
Yeah.
purposely
And
trying to hurt
that's
people.
one of those
Sure.
instances where I consider him outside of the human condition.
You give up your human race card.
Yep.
Not on their website yet.
What is wrong with them?
Well, nothing's wrong with them. They're good people.
Yeah, call them out.
They just got a lot of things going on.
Start some stuff.
No, they're good people.
Give me a reason.
I should be waiting to promote it, but yeah, I promise I'll be there. It's not a joke.
All right, all right. And Mr. Goodnights.
When was this from? Today or?
Yeah.
Okay.
You get your website up to.
So we have a lot to get to today. We already talked about that, and we have Viva Frey.
Yep.
Fry-
April 3rd this morning.
There you go.
Viva Frey.
Right off the bat.
Viva Frey.
Boom.
But this is a clip to start us off. I haven't seen this, so I'm experiencing this with you. We have shared experiences together. Although I don't know your lived experience because I'm a privileged white man. So the urban jungle is a place that's, always full of surprises. And this video that I've not seen is living proof that you never know what to expect in the big city. Okay. Oh, it's a pause. So what are we? Oh, you're playing a game with me?
Yes, we have to guess what happens next.
Okay.
A. Dang, Billy. The man carjacks the person filming the video.
Okay.
Is it B, the man gets destroyed by a vehicle?
Well, that could be funny.
Or is
Yeah.
it C, he arrives on time for his job at the local mechanic engineering firm?
Oh, come on. You're laying it on
Hey,
thick.
this is a trick question. The answer is D. All the kids at the party get scared, and I saw this movie. This is Signs.
I tell you what.
It makes a giraffe balloon.
If it is A, and he carjacks a man completely nude, he's earned the car.
If that's me, have it. You can have it.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, oh, come on. I mean, he's like, nothing up my sleeve. Well, you have no sleeves. All right, give me the answer to
All
it,
right,
man.
here we go. The answer is
Demolish.
Detonated by a Prius?
Yeah. Well, he never heard it coming.
Black man could get hit by a Prius.
It looks like he anticipated, like he
does a little.
deliberately ran in to get hit by that car.
Yeah,
He's
he
looking that
rolled.
way. Yeah, like he was like, I want to ruin someone's day. Prius!
That's an insurance fraud case. Like the insurance agent can be like, you should
Hit a naked black
could
man.
have a clothes problem.
What?
Yeah, you hit someone? No, he hit me. Really.
Yeah. No, you're calling all states, sir. You meant to call some state. That's
It's
how you're
the
doing
worst.
good hand jobs.
Hit me so hard my clothes fell off.
That would be hilarious if he was only wearing shoes, and when he got hit, there was nothing but a pair of shoes.
If you zoom in, you can see a condom, though. It's maybe he was running away. Maybe he got caught with somebody else.
Could've.
Interpretive
Yeah.
protection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like on
He definitely
Friday.
got caught having sex
Yeah,
with
you
somebody he shouldn't have been
devil.
having sex with.
This is an Afro Man song.
That's totally possible because the way he hopped over that fence and was just running. Somebody came home early. He was like, shit, my clothes.
Yeah, he bounced off the pavement too. He just kind of leapt.
Yep, he was like, I don't want to get shot.
There he was way with a 2x4.
Yeah. I weep for society. It doesn't get any better with this next one, but this just shows you that America's last bastion of hope. In Germany, police, well, they made what they thought was a pretty grisly discovery. Don't worry, it's okay. In Rostock, Germany, there's a twist.
Der Notruf ging am Samstagabend gegen 19 Uhr bei der Polizei in Rostock ein. Ein Spaziergänger meldet einen verdächtigen Müllbeutel. Er glaubt, eine verweste Hand darin gesehen zu haben. Es folgt ein Großaufgebot der Polizei. Spurensicherung, Gerichtsmedizin und auch die Feuerwehr ist vor Ort, um beim Ausleuchten zu helfen. Sogar eine Drohne kommt zum Einsatz. Doch erst nach 5 Stunden die große Überraschung. Im Müllbeutel ist keine Leiche, sondern eine Sexpuppe.
Wait, what?
People listening on audio, yes, you heard correctly. It turned out that the murder victim that was found turned out to be a sex doll after a 5-hour investigation. But here's what's most interesting. Most interesting. A sex pulpit. Because, like, there's often some crossover with English, French, or Spanish, like coffee is café, right?
Right.
Almost none with German, except for sex puppet.
Sex puppet, which of course is German for Pinocchio.
Oh my goodness.
What must that sex puppet have done to deserve this? Look at that.
His nose wouldn't grow.
That's the first time I ever do this with you. Sets it on fire.
Nothing else.
It took them 5
There's
hours.
no crossover between German and English, except sex pulpit. Sex puppet. All right, sorry. Can we play? I just want to hear it again. And they take it so seriously.
There we go.
Sondern eine Sexpuppe.
Tatort Arbeit, so will ich es mal nennen, liegt auch der große zeitliche Aufwand. Und in solchen Fällen ist es eben wichtig, dass man sich genug Zeit nimmt und in Ruhe vorgeht. Zumal man hier auch davon ausgehen musste, dass es hier auch keine lebendige Person ist, die ärztlicher Hilfe bedurfte.
Yeah, but like, why would it take them 5 hours though?
Like you saw them. They were like poking and prodding the bag. Like, what is going on in here?
Mortician's all mad that there's not a
Are
dead
they
body.
worried about it exploding?
I don't know.
I love how they still trying to add an element of
understand.
They were just like. Go
ahead. Eventually, you reach the point where it's like, okay, you tiptoe around it, you open it, you see what it is. Yeah. You're like, do you want to call this in? No. Well, I don't want to call this in either. 4 hours later, are you going to call this in? No, I don't want to call this in either.
We wasted tons of money.
4 hours investigating a sex doll.
And they could have poked it with a stick and found it out.
Oh my.
Only one thing remains is why would they dispose of a sex puppet in this manner? We'll get to the bottom of this. It's a pervert. There you go. There's a choose your own path.
Yeah, but it looked like it was burned.
Yeah.
He just didn't want his mom to find it.
I know. I can picture them interrogating it. Like, sex puppet. Were you cheating? It's a silly, silly place, and we should take nothing that they say or do seriously, not only because of the historical timeline of Germany, if you're a history buff, but even today, they can't get it right. More proof, the Rostock police, they nicknamed the doll Selena.
What?
She's a Latin icon. Come on.
What, that doll can't like Selena? Come on.
She's obviously a Selena.
And it went missing overnight. Yeah, it's not in the evidence locker.
I takes this home for further investigation.
You're going to want to swab that.
Police chief's like, they're onto me.
I will solve this case, or my name is not even the Cockesschnickwick. By the way, this is the sixth reported.
What?
No
sex
way.
pulpit that was confused for a murder victim in Germany. Shouldn't they have a protocol? Like 2 or 3? Like the first first question when they show up looking like the third act of E.T. Should be the police chief, like, okay, now first to save everyone's time, is this a sex puppet?
The Zodiac killer of sex puppets. He's sending letters to the media.
I picture it's 2 sex puppets having a picnic by the San Francisco Bay. These are the sex puppets. Unaware of what awaits them.
Oh gosh!
And
it's not exclusively a German
6
problem
of
either.
them.
Really,
What the
it's
hell?
disturbing, yeah, because I was hanging out on the railroad tracks earlier.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah, I was hanging out on the railroad tracks and I found this.
That's terrible. Wait, what were you doing in the bushes, though?
Look.
Yeah, so why were you in the bushes?
Gerald C. I hang out there sometimes.
Another survival guy thing?
Yeah, I was out there hanging out.
You know what? Earlier I pulled up some of the footage
Oh, no.
and I put it in the system.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love how they fucking jab each other.
Well.
By the way, what do you have to say to Gerald C?
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
The sex puppet came back the very next day.
Should have burned it, Gerald.
And here's the thing.
That was part of the protocol.
This is funny, and I know if you're watching, you're older. This is actually a real. That's why they're finding more and more sex. You need to understand, this has become a huge industry because of. Yeah, you can trace it back to feminism because of male-female dynamics, where a lot of men, young men, are checking out of the dating pool. 44% of Generation Z males.
Yeah.
Especially over there
they've
and all
never
the other
dated.
countries, yeah.
According to a study in 2023, 63% of men aged 18 to 29 are single. And 10% of men between the ages of 22 and 34 have never had any type of sexual relations, which is, by the way, the highest
Gotta go back
ever.
to the caveman
And
ages
the
where you just
global-
got to club a woman and drag her home.
Choice of like marriage. It's
what-
not driven by.
And
that.
then on the flip side of that, the global sex doll market is set to increase from $3 billion to $10 billion by the year 2030.
Wow.
I wonder.
That's just improvements in technology.
I wonder if he's going to touch on the fact that in Japan, because like it's even worse there, because like the Japanese women tend to look for the higher. Well, I mean that's like Western women, but they look for higher standards, and there's a lot of single guys over there that are like there's a I wouldn't say epidemic, but it's become increasing that Japanese men, young men, are like marrying robots because there's no women.
It has actually gotten to the point over there that there are more deaths than there are births.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, they're becoming extinct. But even the whole human population has reached a point where if we don't start doing something, we're literally going to just fade out.
Well,
because we're definitely losing.
Our population will decrease to a point where, yeah, there will be a lot of dying out, but it'll eventually stabilize to pockets of like areas where things have kind of stabilized.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, they found out that even the new vaccines and stuff were causing autoimmunes, the vaccines for COVID, and they were it was sterilizing people.
Yep.
So if that's something
causing
that's going to get
cancer,
passed on to the kids,
heart issues, yeah.
It's really if that really does end up, because they were messing with the RNA.
RNA, yeah.
RNA.
mRNA is what it does. The function of it is an mRNA.
Yeah. And if you
Like
think about
protein.
a couple generations from now, if that's past, if they're not completely sterile, if they end up even having a kid and it gets passed on to them, it's like almost guaranteeing like their bloodline's severed.
Right. The mechanics behind it, I'm not like an expert on it, but I was reading about it, is that it's derived from how viruses
Mm-hmm.
attach
into the
themselves
body
and
and-
change the DNA sequence so that it makes whatever cell reproduce it. Well, they use that in order to change the white blood cells in your immune system to supposedly
Which you think about
attack
that.
the
Think about
virus.
that though. Why would they have to? Okay, if your body naturally does that, like with the original old vaccines, why they created them, so that your body would produce the fighters for them. Why would they need to engineer a vaccine that duplicates itself in your body? That completely makes it not a vaccine then. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like that don't even make any sense because all the vaccine was supposed to do was to say, "Hey, wake up and tell your body, hey, there's something here you need to start producing to attack it."
Right.
Instead of
It
Well, that's because Feige changed the definition of a vaccine. At that point, it was officially changed
right.
to include mRNAs, not traditional vaccines.
This
which
this
people should have
was
thought about that. Like that's like
this was
that kind of
specifically to design a payload system for whatever they want.
to carry whatever into the body. Yeah, that would be the only means. Like people didn't
Right.
like think about that. Like it just don't make sense. Like and plus, why would
Yeah.
you want something foreign? Like that's why your body fights it off because it's something foreign that's reproducing in your body. So your body's supposed to get rid of stuff like that because it's not a natural thing in your body. It's an outside danger, you know what I mean? So
Right.
that's probably where a lot of the blood clots were coming from because it was probably overproducing and causing all that nastiness.
Well,
Or
no, the blood clot thing, that actually was really messed up. That was basically big pharma fighting with among themselves. See, what happened was Johnson, I do believe it was Johnson and Johnson, they created an actual vaccine that was most like the original vaccine or something like that. It was a long time ago. I read the article, but essentially, what happened is if it was not kept at the proper temperature, then yeah, it would cause clotting.
Yeah.
And so, what happened is um the first shipment that went out, they found out later that like the air conditioning in the truck had been tampered with after they gave out the vaccine. Like someone, it was checked the night before and it was fine. And then they went in the next day and got the vaccine out. So it wasn't, it was
Well,
literally Pfizer fighting against Johnson and Johnson. Like they did it intentionally. It was
yeah,
not.
probably because it was they didn't care about what would happen to people. But
Well,
still,
exactly.
even
Exactly.
if
Like
it
they did
was
it on purpose so that Johnson and Johnson couldn't get any money or people didn't have an alternate source to the vaccine.
plus they probably just wanted to collect money anyways because that's just how they
Is that
are.
not messed up? That's horrible. Like that's completely terrible. Is that not messed?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
a lot of people died
Think,
from that.
yeah, and like they they did it intentionally.
Hmm.
Insane. Insane.
right.
It is improvements in technology. Well, the thing is, people will say, yeah, is it?
I
do
need
we
to
have
use
a
the restroom. I'll
qualification
be right
culture?
back.
Sure, yeah, absolutely we do.
Yeah.
But a lot of young men, it's not worth the risk. I mean, for example, you use like Harry Sisson, who I get it. We're not fans of him. He's a Democrat activist, and he's a moron. But I will say this: he was consensually sexting women, and then that was used against him as though he was a predator. And a lot of men are going, unless I happen to meet the woman who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, anything consensual can be used against me. And so now with the innovations in AI, and I would imagine textiles, I'm just going to go with a sex puppet.
Pretty soon they're gonna have these sex puppets are like really good in detail.
That's what I understand.
You know, pretty soon they're going to have like anatomy. So these people, these
They're
murderers,
gonna have
can go
AI in them,
cut 'em
like
up and
very
dispose
soon.
of 'em and still get
Like
the same feeling.
I would imagine that's what that's
it'll
probably
be
makes
the
them
next
feel
step
godlike,
after, like, because
I
people are
understand.
already looking to
Healthy
buy
outlet, I get the Green River Killer's book. I don't know.
Let me ask you this: what's
AI
what's the
helpers at
weirdest thing
home,
you've
and
ever
that'll be
found
the next
in,
step.
in public?
Not a sex puppet.
No,
an
definitely.
outside
Well, no.
I
look for
did have a
them.
waiter at a restaurant, and I told you this story. We both know the restaurant has a side gig as a sex puppet salesperson. And does, I guess, very well with.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's incredibly scary that person is serving me.
So he's so good, he's a waiter.
Yes, exactly. He's just getting started.
Which is kind of surprising. I would imagine that's the easiest job in the world. They basically sell themselves.
I mean, you're just a fulfillment guy, right?
Yeah, exactly. I bet you watch. There's going to be some new like direct order sex puppet, a disruptor in the industry. Like, cut out the middleman. It's a sex puppet in a box.
The weirdest thing I ever found in public was an Afghan guy masturbating in a porta potty.
Oh, I found that too at a gas station in Manhattan.
Did he stop?
Yeah.
Because this guy didn't stop.
No, he looked me in the eyes.
Look at me right now.
Palate cleanse. How about this? Easter is coming up. Thank God.
Nice segue, Gerald.
Move away from all the sex stuff.
Well, the reason we wanted to have some levity is because the next story is pretty heavy.
Yes, it really is.
Yeah.
But, the Jesus is Risen shirt, go to CrowderShop.com. Free $5 with no minimum spend. Promo code Jesus.
Well, I will tell you this.
Help us, please, Lord. This place is terrible.
As funny as it is, it really is foundational to society. You lose the male-female dynamics. You lose the nuclear family. You lose Western civilization.
Yeah.
And this is a problem. And people can scream until they're blue in the face. I mean, I will say this with feminists, and we're seeing, funny enough, a shift now. Feminists, and you remember the Me Too Time's Up movement, and of course, we're not talking about monsters who actually raped people. We all agree those people should be buried beneath the prison. Okay, we get it. But there were a lot of people who were falsely accused, and it became a witch hunt. And feminists in the 21st century, it's the only movement that will literally create gatherings, events centered around protesting compliments as catcalling, and then turn around 2, 3, 4 years later now and say there are no good men left, and why is chivalry dead? Mm-hmm. Well, take a guess.
You killed it.
You're killing it.
Yeah, take it. And but catcall, I get it. Hey, come over. I understand.
Did you hear when he was talking about the Harry Sesson part about him and
door for them?
Yes, or trying to go talk to somebody. We've talked about
it's
this.
It's funny too that that's karma for him, because he was messaging the liberal women, and look at what came out of it. Like, he probably really got a lesson from that.
I don't know if he learned anything.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he's pretty fucking. Oh, sorry, he's pretty out there. But I think it's just funny that karma. I mean,
right?
He wanted them women. He championed them, and they turned on him, just like the left does to its own all the time.
Yep. Yeah. You can't. You like. There was an incident like back in 2018 where there was this new girl at work, and like she stalked me on Facebook and everything, and I was just like, this was right around the Me Too thing, so I was like, oh no, I'm not losing my job. So like as soon as she emailed me at work, was talking about stuff, I directly went to HR and I was like, look, this is happening. I'm not, I'm not starting anything. I just want you and everyone to be aware, because I'm not having her come turn me in because, XYZ
stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you have to be protective like that. Even the simplest thing, just saying the simplest thing or doing the simplest thing will turn into like the worst.
Right.
That's crazy that society has become like that. And it's like, thank God things are starting to change here now. But like, I couldn't imagine being like in Germany and Japan and China and all that.
Like there was that incident where this mother, it was in a chat. I don't remember what chat it was. It might have been on WhatsApp, but she just said, I don't like Palestinian flags, and they sent cops to her house and arrested her. There was another incident where, and I might have the video here, but these parents were in a group
I don't understand. How can they arrest her for that? Saying that?
because
They've been
yeah,
overseas for
yeah.
the smallest thing. Posting stuff, even if you posted it like a year before, if they come across it, they'll be at your house and they will arrest you.
Yeah, there was parents that there was
Are you
something.
talking about in other countries?
Yes,
Yeah.
the UK and Germany.
Yep. They're getting bad, real bad.
In the UK, there was some parents. There was something going on with their daughter's school, and they basically, I think it was had to do with like they were concerned about men going into the girls' bathroom. I think it was about that. I don't quite remember, but it was something like they just said, they were concerned about it. They sent 6 cops to the father's house and the mother and arrested them both. They bailed out, and then the next day or whatever, they got home. Then a constable or whatever you would say as a sheriff came to their house and said that they couldn't communicate with the school except for through email instead of the app now. So they were going back and forth with the school, and after another couple days, they sent a policeman to their house again and said, "Now you're banned from the school." And then a couple days later, they came and said, "You have to take your daughter out of the school."
Funny that side against the whole Nazi thing, but they're oblivious to seeing the same actions that the Nazis did.
They lack self-awareness.
Or in the Gillette commercial, that was kind of the peak of it, where I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
Like seeing an attractive girl walk by and going, "Ooh, I'm gonna go talk to her." That's a problem.
Yep.
What do you want us to do?
It's like
I'm just holding a door open. She's like, "I'm not getting in your van." I'm like, "All right,
yeah.
I'm gonna be a bitch about it."
I was trying to be nice,
Not even a new van.
No.
Well, that's expensive.
Yeah, you gotta match your looks, and then she'd get in the paneled van. Next story here. This is one that, and this is let me know, comment below if you.
But yeah, that is a thing. Like I watch Griffin Mind and Living a Life of Abundance, and constantly they're bringing up TikToks and videos of these women who are going online saying, "Why aren't men approaching me? Why aren't
Yeah.
Because they don't want to go to jail." It's pretty simple.
Have you seen the story? Because if you have already seen the story, that means that you're not watching legacy media. This is one of the top trends on pretty much all the social platforms right now, and it has not been covered by so-called mainstream news outlets. This really does show that divide, and I have a hunch as to why. Yesterday, and I warn you, this is a heartbreaking story.
Yeah.
A boy named Austin Metcalf, a white student, was stabbed to death by Carmelo Anthony, a black student. And I know what you're thinking. Another basketball player went broke and is robbing high school students. That would be...
Oh, wrong Carmelo Anthony.
Different Carmelo.
I don't follow the sports, so Josh told me it's funny. He plays basketball, correct?
Sad. We have to find a way.
Yeah. So there was a black student, and this was at a track meet, a stabbing. People use the term senseless killing. And yeah, most killing is senseless, but often you can find a motivation, or you can find some kernel of, warped as it may be, reasoning from the killer's point of view. Now, I understand they're psychopaths, they can be sociopaths, but sometimes there's something we go, okay, this is where it went wrong. In this case, it truly does meet the definition of a completely senseless killing, and that's why it's so heartbreaking. It happened in Frisco, Texas. Here's a briefing.
Frisco Memorial High School community will honor a student today after he was stabbed to death at a track meet. Yesterday morning, 17-year-old Austin Metcalf was at a District 11 5A track meet at Kukendall Stadium. Frisco police say around 10 a.m., 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony stabbed Metcalf in the chest after some sort of fight. It's unclear how Anthony got the knife into the meat or exactly what led up to the fight. Anthony now facing first-degree murder charges.
It's tragic.
Two lives are
actually,
completely
here's a
ruined.
look
Two
at,
families
of
are
course,
just
this has touched
completely
a lot of people.
destroyed.
Yeah.
Over nothing.
Well,
Nothing.
I watched, and this is part of the senselessness, the weirdness that's been going on. This 17-year-old girl went into a Walmart in her town, and she was sent there to get like oatmeal and mayonnaise or something for her parents, or for her mom. I don't know if her dad was in the picture, but she decided she'd go there to get art supplies and stuff. She decided to go browse the art supply area, and there was no one else in the aisle, so she takes out her lighter and lights these fake plants on fire. And then, not realizing how flammable they are, it basically engulfs the entire back half of the Walmart to the tune of like $7.8 million in damages. She records a video saying, she's telling everybody to leave or whatever. She's recording this, and then she leaves, and then the police come, obviously, and the first responders, and they get it all under control, and then they end up looking at the security camera. They end up finding her at her house, and she had no good explanation as to why she decided to set the plant on fire, but she ended up spending, like, they were going to put her in prison for like 17 years or something like that. But then they dropped it down to like I think 60 or 90 days in jail, and she has to pay. They were going to make her pay the 7.6 million back, but then it got dropped down to like only $1 million. But still,
wow.
At 17 years old, you've got a felony arson. You've got a fine that you got to pay back $1 million. Like, how? Like,
it would take you forever.
Yeah, because she's got that felony arson. She's not going to get a good job. Like, that's out of the. I mean, I shouldn't say that. It will be extremely unlikely that she's going to get a decent job.
Yeah.
And she's got, like, I think 2030 or 2035, 2036 or something like that is when she has to pay that. Like, it has to be paid off.
Hopefully, she looks half decent. She can get on OnlyFans. That's like the only way.
Yeah.
$1 million, like, that's just, I don't even, like, that's crazy.
Yeah, people can't even,
it would take you forever.
Yeah. There's no way, unless she wins the lottery or goes on OnlyFans. Like, she is definitely screwed. She effed her whole life up, basically, with one incident.
It wasn't even for nothing. Yeah.
No, just lighting some plants on fire in Walmart for whatever impulse.
Violent protests in reaction to the stabbing.
This is true.
Starting to get the picture. Now, I'm going to be quite clear about this. This is not racially motivated, as far as we know, but to act as though there isn't a component or a pattern that people recognize, that would only serve to breed more racism. We do need to have an honest conversation about this, especially as white Americans who have been browbeaten as the greatest domestic terror threat, as white supremacy, of course, labeled as the greatest threat to national security. We've seen that. And it's untrue. And you can't solve a problem if you don't actually understand the nature of the problem. So, social media, trending everywhere, top 5, certainly right now on X. As of the time of this broadcast, the mentions of this story on national media, 1 on CNN online, 0 at MSNBC, and the local headlines conspicuously omit the race of the perpetrator. Let's look at Dallas Morning News. Frisco ISD student fatally stabbed at high school track meet. Fort Worth Star Telegram, North Texas student stabbed at track meet dies. Suspect arrested, Frisco police say. And this isn't just whataboutism. This is recognizing social engineering for an agenda. Yep. It would be one thing to say, well, the race doesn't matter. I don't agree with that if you see a statistical trend. And I certainly don't agree with that when you understand this in context. Do we have an apples-to-apples comparison? Yeah, let's look at the media headlines when it's black on white. Last week,
hey, there's background noise coming through on your mic.
Assault at Ashbrook High School. Right? We have it. It's another. We can look at it when it's white on black, but this is another last week. Okay, so you see that headline, and I warn you, this is very upsetting. Here's the video.
What?
What? Oh, real funny.
And here's the thing. You heard the laughing, right? You heard the laughing and the wailing. By the way, that boy Ethan, he had a broken skull bone. This happened at LeBron James's I Promise school. There were 3 young black men involved. I don't know exactly what has happened with this stabbing here in Frisco, but I do know this. Someone who stabbed somebody over asking for them to, what we know is move seats, like, hey, you're sitting in the wrong place.
He
That's
stabbed
someone
him?
who has had a simmering, festering hatred.
The kid, no, he broke his skull.
So it begs the question, why? This is not
But
something
he's
we typically
talking
see.
about the kid getting
We
stabbed.
don't see someone stab another student simply
That's
for
why we
being
need
asked
more
to move
teachers
chairs.
like Liam
And
Neeson.
we in this country,
right?
Let's be honest,
You guys ever hear that story?
we've seen beatings at schools. We didn't see
I watched
that
The
once upon a
Substitute.
time in this country, and we certainly would
No.
never expect to hear a third
I
of the
did some
classroom.
Googling. Apparently, this is a real thing. Liam Neeson was a teacher for one day. A kid pulled a knife on him and he knocked him out.
Good. That's how my my old math teacher was a Golden Glove boxer, and I got into a argument with a kid, and I went to punch him. I didn't even see the old. He was older too. He moved right around us, and I went to go punch, and my hand didn't go nowhere because he grabbed my hand. He was behind me.
I remember him.
Yeah.
He
I remember his
he
name, but
always
yeah.
like he looked like he
Quiet.
like gave
Yeah.
up like life is life. Like he would sit in class and just be like whatever. Like that now like as I'm older understanding he's a Golden Gloves boxer, probably
Yeah.
nothing phased him. So
Yeah, nothing to worry about. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was all calm about everything too. Like
Yeah, I
he
never
just-
saw him like he never got agitated. Like he was just so calm. But like
Uh-huh.
you knew that guy was dangerous. Like if you pissed him off, you wouldn't want that. But he was cool.
I need teachers like that,
Laughing,
especially
right.
like Mr. Cotton too in the library. Like
Oh yeah.
telling like he used to break it down like and tell us like the kids that were out on the streets and stuff learned more common sense and streetwise was better education than the stuff that they were starting to teach in schools. And it's true. Like you learning to live is more important than a lot of the stuff that they're trying to teach in schools, especially nowadays.
Right.
Like man,
They don't really teach in school. They teach you how
not
to
anymore.
be a good button pusher or a lever puller or push papers. They don't teach
Basically,
you
it's set up like prisons anymore too.
Right.
Like they just try to keep you kind of entertained a little bit in front of your eyes, and you're basically repeating, learning how to repeat and stay in your lane, learning how to repeat and stay in your lane every day. That's what they teach kids anymore.
Right.
Like
Move when the bells ring.
Yep,
Move
Jason's
to your
school, like,
station.
we're like, dude, he starts telling us like she does the homework with us in school and all the work along with us and gives us the answers. I'm like, what? I'm like, how? I'm like, that doesn't. I don't understand. Like, so you're not even like doing any of the thinking. Like, it's like optional to think. Like, I guess. And that's how like most schools are. Like, and plus they have access to their phones all the time to do their stuff. They even tell them you can use your phones and stuff, or use a calculator. And I'm like, how is that? And this is one of the better schools too. Like,
Right.
I can't even imagine.
I don't have like as long as they at least show how to get to the answer, but like looking using a calculator, using computers and stuff, I don't have a problem with because those are the tools that we have now, and you should know how to use them to find answers. But you should also know how to understand where the answer's coming from. That's the problem.
I still think they should learn how to do it without those, and then Like when they
Right.
get the understanding, because you're not always. What if you don't always have it with you? You know what I mean? Like it's
That
just like
and the problem that we're seeing today is, oh, I'll go and look at the answer online, and then they take the first answer, whatever it would be, and then it's propaganda.
Yeah, instead of actually looking, yeah, that's the problem too. They're not taught to actually think or do research on their own.
Right.
They just, oh, this is the answer. That's it. And that's
Just to be
explains a
clear, the
lot.
Ethan thing, that was a separate incident. That wasn't from that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Separate. It's fine. No, outside, and the perps were obviously, in this case, for the example, 3 black men.
Yeah.
You don't hear that. You just see the head.
On that one where the kid got his skull broke, had that been anywhere in my vicinity, I don't care if that was a kid, he would have every bone in his body broke.
Oh, did you see the teacher's response? She ran to the door.
Yeah.
She's not
Didn't
allowed
even
to
try
touch
to-
him.
Yeah,
She's not
that's how
allowed to.
horrible.
And I wouldn't even
Probably
care
that
if I
type
had
of
to
teacher
fight his
probably
whole
wouldn't have
family.
anyway.
He would have he would be in the hospital in traction. And learn a good lesson that you're not the biggest one on the block. There's always somebody bigger.
Line there.
Oh, this is a different story. I'm sorry. I have it in my notes. So there's another one. Yeah. 3 black men. Here's another one. Teen girl allegedly slugs Asian woman, attacks witnesses in possible hate crime on NYC subway. Again, they mention the victim, but they don't mention the perpetrator. Do you remember the Stop Asian Hate? Remember that when that was going on? And that died
Briefly,
that died
yeah.
off really quickly because Asian Americans were no longer a useful pawn from the left. They don't study interracial crime the way they used to. They changed the method of sort of registering these crimes. I believe it was in 2018. We've covered that before. So we had to use a sample study that showed over 80% of all violent crimes in the Bay Area were black against Asian. That matters. Let's contrast this with media headlines when it's white perpetrators and black victims. White teen allegedly tried to drown black child in racially charged attack. Here's another one. 3 white men are found guilty of murder in the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. Here's another one. White man will stand trial for shooting black teen Ralph Yarl who went to wrong house. Judge rules. Now, again, if it was consistent, okay. But why does it statistically, observably, only take place when there's a specific race involved?
Yeah.
As far as if you're white, it will be listed. If you're a black criminal, probably not.
Push under the rug.
Just like legacy media, there's a huge chasm between what they are covering and what you care about with this story. There's a huge difference in the coverage here in labeling perpetrators and victims versus statistical reality. According to the FBI, black offenders, if you look at crimes, blacks against whites in this country, blacks are 2.5 times more likely to commit a crime against a white person than a white person against a black person. Look, if you were to add up all of the Klan's lynchings, as horrible as they are, just to be clear, it wouldn't amount to the kind of violence that you see from black people in this country against white people and Asian people. Doesn't that matter? Do you think you're going to quell hatred by breeding more of it? And I do actually have this here. Yeah, it was sent in 2008 is when the Bureau of Justice stopped publishing data on interracial crime.
Why?
And you see a trend before that. More black against all other races.
Wonder why that
This
happened.
is not, of course, to say all black people. This is to say that there is a reality, and when there's a trend, anywhere else, you would study this to see, okay, what's the causation? Here we don't. You can comment, why do you think that is? And do you think that that is doing a gross disservice to the next generation in this country? I do have a hunch, though, too. Sometimes it's because of the reaction from those directly involved with the crimes, the victims. And I would state that there's a noticeable difference between the reaction. Here's the father.
They locked Charles Manson up for trying to start a race war,
his
but it's
son's
okay
death,
for
and
them.
we'll contrast that with what you're often used to.
The sad part about it is he died in his brother's arms. They were twins, identical twins.
Oh, man.
And his brother was holding on to him, trying to make it stop bleeding. And he died in his brother's arms. I'm not trying to judge, but what kind of parents did this child have?
Yep.
What was he taught? He brought a knife to a track meet, and he murdered my son by stabbing him in the heart. And you know what? I already forgive this person. Already. God takes care of things. God's going to
Yeah.
take care of me. God's going to take care of my family.
Well, that's not catnip for the media. Like George Floyd's family. Remember, I think his father showed up, who they hadn't seen in a very long time. Or remember Jordan Neely, who was he was choked by
his
Sergeant
family
Henry on the subway.
came out.
Of course, he was exonerated completely because
Disgusting.
Jordan Neely was violent and threatening people on the subway. Well, let's contrast what we just saw there in Frisco with Jordan Neely's dad and how he reacted after his son died. This was everywhere.
I didn't have to go through this either. It hurts. It really, really hurts. What are we gonna do, people? What's gonna happen to us now?
Maybe you should have raised your son
I
better.
had enough of this. The system is rigged.
Mm-hmm. Even though your son was actually the criminal. That man's son was the criminal, and he was blaming everyone else. The media covers it.
It's the same dude who kicked that same son out of his home.
Yep.
Yep.
Didn't want anything to do with him.
In
No, he
Frisco,
wanted a
this
payday
man's
from
son
BLM.
there's no gray area. Was the victim of a senseless killing, and he forgave him. What kind of a society do you want to live in? What kind of a society? Let's take race out of it. Which kind of dad do you want to emulate?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, which kind of dad do you want to have clout to affect political change? You lived through the Black Lives Matter riots, right?
They can't support that
you know
because
the end
he was
result of the
talking about
politicians, the defunding
God.
police,
Now,
the
if it
catch
was
and release,
about
no catch
Allah, it'd be everywhere.
Right.
We lived through that.
It's all the same thing. It's
How do we
either way you
want
look
to
at it,
structure
every
our
aspect of
society?
it, it's all evil.
What do we
versus
want it to
good.
look like? It's very clear where the
And that's
media
what they
lines up. It's very
champion.
clear where your intelligence
It's
agencies,
evil.
where your
That's all they
three-letter agencies
champion.
line up. And to me, it's very clear how you, the American people, by the way, of all races, line up. That's what I notice with this. That's the dynamic I see. Now let's move on to something a little bit more technical and a little less heavy.
Yes.
If you guys have anything to add, but I think
it's hard. It's just hard to talk about something like that. You know, you just your heart breaks. The whole situation.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely terrifying as a father.
Respect
It's
to that
horrible
father,
for a
too,
twin,
He's
too.
a better man
It's
than
like-
I am. I wouldn't have such words.
Probably
to say.
felt like he
especially
lost
so quickly after.
half of them, like
Yeah.
literally.
I mean, it's been proven there is a connection between twins,
Mm-hmm.
even more so than regular sibling connection.
But why was it? I want to see the field footage and stuff. Like, why was nobody there? Where were the teachers? Where were the security guards? It was an after-school event, or even during school. They're supposed to have security guards all the time.
Right. They're supposed to. I mean, did the school not have metal? I think metal detectors are standard at schools now.
Well, and now that Trump's in, like I've been saying this for literally decades, they should be using, with how many veterans don't have jobs and stuff. Dude, they're super trained. Their skills are the best. They
Right.
should be hired for security for schools.
Yeah.
The most important asset we have in the entire in the entire world
No,
for the human
no.
race.
It's our money.
Yeah. That's how they look at it. Yeah.
We protect our money better than we protect our kids.
And instead of all the veterans coming home and not having jobs, they could immediately, instead of having to work for private sectors like that too and doing dirty work, they could be doing good things. That's what ends up killing a lot of them and making a lot of them have trouble, because when they come home and you're just useless, worthless, and you get nothing, like, it destroys them.
Right.
And that would like solve so many problems.
But that's the point, though. Typically,
Yeah.
they want
Well, before.
they want you
That's why-
broken, and because if you're the first threat if there's an uprising.
Yeah, they don't want that. That's why they took out. And anybody, Chris Kyle, that was a setup. Like, I don't care what anybody says. There's no way 2 of our top trained soldier snipers would have ever let anybody behind them with a gun, even if they were. It doesn't happen.
Right.
It just don't happen.
No.
It doesn't. They just didn't want an asset like that out there.
Right.
Yeah,
Horrible.
that's what somebody's faith can do. It literally can be the bedrock in your life. And unfortunately, that bedrock was tested in this man's life. But obviously, he's He looked at this. There was another clip, and he was talking about a sweet moment with his son. And it's, again, hard to talk about this because I have kids, and you imagine them in these scenarios, and it makes you angry. And he's talking like, "Hey, it's not goodbye. It's I'll see you later."
Mm-hmm.
It's a different thing.
And
don't have that kind of faith.
Don't mistake our Christians, our compassion for weakness, or that we don't seek justice, because I don't want us to be sitting ducks either.
No.
You can forgive someone and still be perfectly fine with our system, setting up the meeting between that person and God. The rest of it is between them. So that's the problem, is we have had a society that has been based on Christian principles for a very long time. It kind of had to be an unwritten agreement. Otherwise, this doesn't work. But you can't have one group, and I mean progressive left, I mean the propaganda that is being pushed, the race baiting. You can't have one group taking advantage of the compassion and empathy of the group that has come before them. That's the dynamic that we see today, and there needs to be compassion, forgiveness, sure, as a Christian, but there also needs to be a strong sword as well, because this is a problem that's not going to go away unless we address it. Political correctness be damned. So let's go to
and I think they changed a lot about the
yesterday.
Bible too.
President Trump's Liberation Day, which means
because
tariffs for
you have every
everyone,
right
and there's
to
a
live
lot of
and
math
survive
going around, a lot of
by
people
any
saying it's the
means.
end of the world.
Right. Well, they misconstrued "thou shalt not kill" to mean
going out and murdering somebody in malice or
there's a difference. They use the word kill. Kill can be justified. Murder is premeditated.
Mm-hmm.
Murder is the bad.
You'd also have to read the original. It's like that's what
Right.
I'd like to look back on.
It does originally
thing.
mean "thou shalt not murder," but it was misconstrued or made an analogy to kill and murder.
Encompass everything. Yeah.
Right.
Well, see, and that too, like, made it easier for control, and like for people not rising up against their tyrants and things like that. I mean, it's just obvious how so many things were changed and altered for the purpose of control and subjugation.
Right.
That's what I mean. Like, yeah, why, like, what? And it even says in the Bible about defending yourself with a sword and having a sword in defense and stuff like that. And they often leave a lot of that out.
Right.
That's why I don't like a lot of the new King James, and it's better that I've seen a lot of things where people went back and actually went through the real original wording and stuff. Just like how they changed to like the word they used for wife. The way that a lot of them changed it is to where she was basically your slave and your subject, and that's not how it was meant. It was to be part your support. If she's part of your body, your rib, she's there to be your other half, not beneath you, be beside you.
Right.
And that's what they've changed a lot too. And that's what causes a lot of people to like, they criticize a lot about that with the Bible, but that's not originally how it was meant. And that's why they look at it like it's outdated and old. That's why a lot of these new kids and new generations, because they think, oh, you shouldn't be looking at women like that, and it says this, and no, that's how
they destroyed the family structure by it was feminism. This is going back to our conversation we had last night that should have been on the stream. But when they started taxing people and started making everything about putting people, forcing people to have to work to pay the taxes that they were laundering, that was back when they had, we had single income households. That wasn't enough at that point, because they had started milking the tax dollars so bad out of the working class that it was unsustainable. So then they're like, we have this all other half of the population that's not in the workforce, but they're home raising the kids, and that does two things. That one prevents us from being able to indoctrinate the children.
Yep. Turn them into workers too.
Right. And a stable home is hard to manipulate. So then, the whole feminist movement started, and they started working on the minds of the women. Oh, you should be free. Don't follow your man. Follow this man who runs the company.
Be defiant. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Your allegiance should be towards this other man instead of your husband. And then we got to the point where women were fighting to get into the workforce. I mean, I'm not against women working or anything, don't get me wrong, but it got twisted and manipulated into creating this all new tax revenue for the government to abuse. And then
that's how we got into the conversation, because we were talking about, like, for almost at least a century now, they've been taking the amounts of trillions of tax dollars from people, and like if that would have never happened, this day and age, we would still actually be able to be a one income household. There would still be that structure, and you would still be able to live with a family of only just one person working.
Right.
And which would change everything. Like, everything would have been completely different.
Less
just
stress.
Off of that.
Families would be more intact. Children would be less vulnerable.
Yep. And just like we were talking, like, think about, like, if this term, President Trump's term here, would have never happened, the status quo would have stayed the same, and everybody would still be living like there's not enough money. Everybody's stressed because you don't have enough time to even work to make enough money to even live.
Right. That's how we live now. Like, they've got us work until 6. The kids are with school until very late, and then they're with a sitter. It is counterproductive to the human society, basically. That's not natural.
Yeah.
And
all our systems are failing. People can't get enough because all the while they're sending it to their pockets, their own families.
Oh, we need to tax you more because we're out of budget. Why are we out of budget? Oh, because you're stealing it.
Yep. And no one would have known anything about it. Like, it's crazy that more people ain't like, man, demand that people should be marching and demanding, like, hey.
No, but they got everybody manipulated into fighting against the fraud being stopped. Like, they're literally out there burning Teslas because they want to be taxed to death.
Yeah, it's completely opposite. They burned the tea and everything because of being taxed without representation, and now they're fighting to be
tax me harder, daddy.
Yeah. It don't make sense. It don't make sense.
There's a brief clip of what was it? They were talking to, I want to say they were people in Congress, I believe, were protesting Musk. It was some sort of Congress meeting. And I'm literally watching this lady talk about how she's basically trying to diminish the fact that, okay, a 300-year-old person is receiving benefits. That's, not too bad. But having this unelected, unappointed official basically going through all of our files is just the worst thing ever. And I'm just like, okay.
And they're even talking like that, and these people are still like going along with them. Like, they're literally telling them, like, this guy's exposing all of our secrets and us stealing your money. They're literally saying stuff basically that out to the people, and people are like, yeah, we need Musk out. Like, it don't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
It's like, my biggest question, like, after Obama had done his 8 years of hell, was how the fuck did you spend $9 trillion? Our deficit was 10 trillion when he went in and 19 trillion when he went out. So it's like, how do you spend that kind of money?
Yep. And without accomplishing anything. Like,
what's
stores
crazy?
were closing, houses were being repoed. Like,
in one lifetime, a human being couldn't spend $1 trillion.
Nope. That's what we were talking about too. Like, they've been stealing money, like, in the amounts of trillions before the word trillions was even really being used.
Right.
Like,
They're
people
probably the
couldn't
reason
even
why.
imagine Yeah, like when billions started coming out and them talking about the debt being in the billions and spending this billions worth, like they were already stealing like trillions and trillions of dollars, and that the thought of that was just people couldn't even wrap their minds around.
No,
Like
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, people can't wrap their minds around $1 billion, but $1 trillion, like the $1 trillion is like I said, you could give a baby $1 trillion trust fund, and then like you spend until they become 18 and be able to spend on their own, and they keep spending, like buying the most lavish things. They could go their entire life and still probably have more than half of that money left over. It's insane. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit. I'm sure you could buy like 500 billion worth of something, but
it's like that saying where like 1,000,000 seconds is like here I looked it up. 11 days. 1,000,000,000 seconds is 31 years, and 1,000,000,000,000 seconds is 31,000 years.
yeah, it's that
Like
far
that
out of
sums
reach.
it up. Yeah, like that sums it up. Like that's like crazy. 31,000 years in seconds. Like it's not even like, and they're literally just throwing trillions around like it's just like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
It's disgusting.
That's amazing. Yeah.
It's disgusting is what it is. And then like had Trump not turned his head far enough,
It'd all be done.
Yeah,
Would have been done.
They would be going. Kamala would be like, "We got to fix the inflation. We're going to raise taxes by 25% to fix it. 2 weeks to flatten the curve," is what that would have been. And then
I would like
4
to
years
talk about- we
later,
should,
we would all be living in cardboard boxes.
Yep. Thinking, man, I'm just glad to just get by today. Like that's how they had everybody.
I'm just glad to be able to
get
eat this
through
rat.
today. Yep. And me all the while, like these people are literally like we couldn't even imagine how much money they're really playing with.
Yeah, it's insane. That's they're drunk on money is what this is.
Yeah.
And they're literally like alcoholics, and you're taking the alcohol away from them. That's what we're seeing is the withdrawal.
Yep.
Because they closed down USAID and a bunch of their other criminal enterprises, and that's what it is, a criminal enterprise. And now the money stopped, and they're freaking out, and so they got their base rallied up to fight their fight for them because they're too frail, weak, and cowardly to fight their own fights.
I would like to talk about that whole thing too with BlackRock, but I'd like to we should dedicate bring up a couple of them videos and stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's for
because that's a whole thing. Yeah, that's the big thing.
Oh, and it is so hard to understand addiction, because not everybody is an addict. Not everyone will admit that they're. Not everyone will admit that they're an addict.
Right.
Yes. And it's like trying to explain that because, like for example, when my last girlfriend left me, and I was actually explaining this to somebody, and he just sort of come off, well, what did she find out about you? And I just sort of gave him this dirty look, and then after a minute, I told him she found out that I wasn't going to feed her habit. That's basically what it was. I was like, because when I first started dating her, she was big into weed, she was big into alcohol, and literally the last straw was when she's like shit-faced drunk, and I tried to grab the bottle out of her hand. And yeah, that was the end of our relationship, right?
Yeah.
It's just
well,
like,
you've been my friend during when I was with Sonia, so you know what I had to deal with that. It's basically the same.
That was horrible.
I was starting my one job at CPS, and I got a call from her while I was on lunch that she was throwing my shit out or something. I knew she was drunk, and I went. When I got to my place, I took the bottle and I dumped the alcohol out. She tried to attack me, and I threw the bottle, and I was like, I can't deal with. I'm on lunch break. Like I should be eating lunch, not dealing with this. there was times when she called the cops on me, trying to tell them that I abused her. And the last time she did it, the cop was like, "Let me see. Where did he hit you? Where do you claim he hit you?" And he's like, "I don't see anything." He's like, "You've stretched your credibility." And that night, she was the one actually jumping on my back and hitting and clawing me on my head and my face.
That's horrible. Yeah. And it's more and more too, because there's a lot of girls out there with a lot of trauma and issues, and that's their way to cope.
Well, she also took Klonopin and Boost Bar and Xanax while she was drinking, so that right there is the combo. If you meet a girl and she's on one or more of those and she likes to drink,
red flag.
yeah. She has more red flags than the Communist Chinese Party.
Overall, I will tell you, there's a lot of good news. There are some winners. There are some losers. The biggest loser is China, which I'm a fan of, not because they're Chinese, but because the country is communist. It's time for the latest installment of the Terrifier.
The Terrifier.
Okay, I'm back.
I know.
I'm
Yeah.
back.
It's still funny.
It's never not going to be funny. So we said biggest loser, China. Biggest winner, surprisingly, Mexico, because they kind of showed you how to handle this right.
Yeah. They screwed Canada twice. And then the rest of the world now, like, they're doing a pretty good job.
Canada was omitted from the master list because they're individually going to be stuffed. So we're not even going to be addressing Canada, but there's some I think there's some dynamics here that maybe people aren't considering. For example, if you look at a lot of these poor South American countries like Nicaragua, I don't think you maybe know this. If these countries have to end their reciprocal tariffs, it may allow them to come out of the third world. If some of these countries can, for the first time, have actual access to affordable American goods. I'm not talking about an iPad and Grok. I'm talking about basic appliances, things that we take for granted that they can't access because their government is protectionist. So that's an underlying theme here that I'm not hearing a lot of people talk about. But of course, we do have here to discuss this because he's, I guess, let's just say expert on cable news. They say expert even if they're not on international policy and relations. It's Lane the Brain. All right, Lane
I'll take it.
And in short sleeves with the overhead lights. Look at that.
There you go.
That's a Mr. Universe.
I'm redheaded. They wouldn't let me in.
That's true. I know you don't really tan, but have you ever tried the fake tan? Like the body? What if you put that on?
When I did the jacked up commercial. Oh, that's Santa Claus.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, but
no, you looked good. You looked really good.
Hey, Josh.
Enough about your van, Josh.
Lane's already said no.
So
it's nice being here.
Before we get to everything else, for those of you who maybe missed it, yesterday President Trump announced the new tariffs from the White House Rose Garden and presented a chart. And this has been the source of controversy. We'll actually clarify that first as far as what the math is and how these tariffs have been calculated, because you've no doubt heard the reaction. But here's his announcement.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. China, first row. China, 67%. That's tariffs charged to the USA, including currency manipulation and trade barriers. So 67%, I think you can, for the most part, see it. Those with good eyes, with bad eyes. We didn't want to it's very windy out here. We didn't want to bring out the big charts because it had no chance to stand. So we're going to be charging
someone there is nearsighted.
Discounted reciprocal tariff of 34%. I think, in other words, they charge us, we charge them less. So how can anybody be upset? And again, I don't blame the people for doing it. I think they're very smart in doing it. I blame the people that sat right in that Oval Office, right over there, right behind the Resolute desk or whichever desk they chose.
And just kept. And I know some of your. It's always funny how he has to toss something in. For those of you who have bad eyes, you think initially that seems like it might be petty. It's even worse when you know that he went a step further.
The heck happened?
Airdrop. What?
But I was like, I can't believe you.
Stalin.
With good eyes, with
As you think initially that seems like it might be petty. It's even worse when you know that he went a step further. Your bad eyes, your eyes, your fake news, bad eyes. You have bad eyes. He sent that. He sent that to a journalist.
He did, yes.
Left it on their
In the
voice.
moment, they were like, "Hey, what the airdrop? What?
Guy's like,
emoji.
I hope he's not talking about me."
Who could it be?
I left my contacts at the hotel.
Can't afford LASIK.
I have astigmatism. You know that.
And we're going to get to, because one thing is there's been a lot of misinformation about there, and this is one of those areas where this is why you can line up 100 economists and you'll have 50 say that this is awful, it's the end of the world, and 50 say, well, hold on a second, there's actually something here that you're not taking into consideration. So some of what I'm going to present here, both of us, is our opinion and speculation. Here's what is not speculation. The media has taken a side, absolutely, and told you that this is the rapture.
President Trump announcing a massive worldwide series of tariffs. In fact, bringing tariffs to levels that have not been seen, according to Fitch, since just before the First World War.
Donald Trump purposefully craters the U.S. economy
Oh,
and
jeez.
threatens to throw the entire world into a pointless trade war-fueled recession, if not depression.
There are enemies like South Korea, Taiwan, and China starting to work together.
No.
Because of what Donald Trump is doing.
25% tariff on all car imports are currently in effect. A move expected to spike prices on millions of vehicles.
Donald Trump makes good on his plan to derail the American economy.
So it's dumb to have this.
Listen to them all fighting for the corruption.
It's going to hurt Pennsylvania.
Now, before we go to some key facts here, Lane, I know you just said no, and honestly, that's all it really warrants. No, that's incorrect.
It was so stupid.
But it is kind of amazing sometimes. Even I'm surprised. We usually use leftist sources because we want you to know what they're saying. That's why we provide all the references. Link in the description. Today, as every day, there is no rational argument that they make. Rachel Maddow, he purposefully is tanking the economy. Let me ask you this. Even if you hate him, why would he do that? You say he's a bloviating egotist. Sure. Then he cares about his legacy. Stalin didn't want to tank his economy. He was an idiot. Communism fails, but he wanted to be exalted. He wanted a bunch of statues. Hitler didn't try and tank his economy. No one would have a vested interest in tanking their economy, guaranteeing that their legacy is tarnished forever and their party has not a chance at midterms. There's no rational argument to be presented for that statement. Only blind hatred.
Yes.
Well, she was the journalist that couldn't see very well.
Yes.
That is
Well, he did talk about
So I want to go to his point. So the lady on CNN.
Yeah, that's what
point,
I do
you
want to
said,
make that point real quick, because you mentioned we use leftist sources to kind of bolster our own arguments, which you should. The source she's citing for China, South Korea, and Japan getting along is Chinese Central Television, which is the Chinese state media. And immediately the trade minister from Japan came out and said, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
By the way,
didn't she say Taiwan?
She very well could have.
She did say Taiwan.
She did say.
Of course, Chinese TV was like, and Taiwan also very happy.
Taiwan? Oh my god.
Hey, all the Japanese joke. How can you tell when the Chinaman is lying? He's about to movie.
You look like the racist caricature off the ramen restaurant. I think you'll find it. It's too funny.
Yes, very good.
Hey, Lane, who knew to take out literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of wars and hatred and violence, thousands. All we had to do was have tariffs. And
Literally, before Jesus was on the planet, this was a war that was going on.
China and Korea are like, hey, we can be friends.
Literally, the basis for the entering into, for World War II with the Japanese is wanting to create a superior pan-Pacific race, which specifically does not include Chinese people. You think that our racism is bad? Just look at how Asians treat other Asians. To you, they look far more similar than me or even Lane and a black American. You don't know hatred until you see Japanese Chinese.
Yeah. Up on CNN as by God news.
My Korean coworker called Japanese devious little monkeys publicly and felt good about it.
the monkey, you monkey.
Well, they weren't black, so it doesn't have the same context.
No, but I was like, I can't believe you said that.
So.
Well, good, but yeah.
No, I'm saying it would have been.
Oh,
whatever.
sure.
All right. So let's go to some key facts here. Is okay. Number one, like what are reciprocal tariffs, right? And the White House, along with that chart, presented some math that got community noted. Their math equation is very complex. We do actually have kind of the net result as far as what the math equation should look like. We haven't been able to verify theirs. But let's first go, what are reciprocal tariffs? That's, according to Donald Trump, not the media, who says it's the end of the world, they're basically tariffs imposed on a country according to whatever rate or penalty they charge us.
For nations that treat us badly, we will calculate the combined rate of all their tariffs, non-monetary barriers, and other forms of cheating. And because we are being very kind, we're kind people, very kind, but we will charge them approximately half of what they are and have been charging us.
And China will say, thank you, sir, may I have another?
So they presented this math, saying this is how they came to the number, because it's not just about the actual tariffs that they actually put up. It's about a trade deficit, too. So in reality, this is what the math equation seems to be. It's a trade deficit with the country divided by the imports from said country. If you do that, all of these numbers add up.
And you know it works because the ones that are all 10%,
yeah,
are all countries that we have trade surpluses with, and he's like, oh, screw it, 10% for all of you.
Well, 10% was the base.
Yeah,
right?
10% was the base.
That's what
Why?
he's saying. No, I'm just
Yeah,
saying that's what he's saying.
yeah.
10% was just the base. So it's just the number that they
That's why Brazil and Australia both have 10%.
Yeah.
Right. So, and it brings us to, like, why is President Trump doing this? Okay. That's key fact number 2 here is the real reason is to try and reshore
UK is also 10%.
manufacturing, to cut some trade deficits, and ultimately to punish China. And that's pretty important because we've talked about this my whole life, especially being around people in finance. They go, well, China is the next great superpower. And everyone just assumed it. Everyone knows that this has been going on, but for some reason it was never covered. For some reason, people were not aware of just how unfair the trade was with China. And if nothing else, Donald Trump is drawing attention to it. This almost seems like everything is designed to revolve around its catering straight to China.
Yeah, and I think, Lane, to some of the points that you've made about this, he's definitely taking aim at imbalances in trade, right? But he's also looking at people who are doing things with tariffs against us that he's trying to just correct in general because they're hurting us.
Sure.
But
yeah,
it's bigger than that.
Well, yeah. Then to Stephen's point, there are other things that are not just tariffs, like greenhouse gas emission regulations or environmental regulations that make our products impossible to sell places. But with the 2 points, like to reshore manufacturing nearshore to a place like Mexico and punish China, they're one and the same because China has taken our manufacturing base by manufacturing things very cheaply, subsidizing them, and then flooding other markets with them, even when they're taking losses just so they can occupy market space.
Right.
It's called overcapacity, and it's what their entire economy is based off of.
Yes.
And that is why there's no longer a middle class in Ohio.
And they make those products cheaper
because
because they have slave
Well, just like we said,
labor.
that as far as national defense for the Western world, you, the American taxpayer, you subsidize it, right? It's you, the American worker, subsidize it. Same can be said for putting people out of work in the United States.
American corporations use that slave labor.
Right. Well, I mean, you kind of have to because you can't make a product that can compete with that because they're using slave labor. Because if we make a product and we're paying our American workers, we're paying them a normal wage, not
but
$3 an hour. Right. Well, I mean, it was built to force us to have to do that, and the tariffs are going to undo that.
Yes, as it should have been done. Like, I don't know, before I was born.
Right. Yeah, we shouldn't have never got to this point.
Exactly.
That's the Chinese government subsidizing
for decades.
Yeah, it's not capitalism versus capitalism.
No.
It is a designed market specifically. It's not even designed to turn a profit. It's designed to destroy American economic stability.
I don't like to use the term elites, but this was the elites in America that were fine with this happening because they were going to reap the short-term benefits of it. It's the McKinsey method. It's the people. They don't care about growing a middle class. They care about padding their pocketbooks. And that's why the Clintons and the Bushes and the World Trade Organizations push to get China involved in this world system.
Right. And one thing I want to address too is, the math. The reason that that's necessary, you have some people going, well, why don't they just show the actual tariffs? Okay. It's very difficult. and I know this is going to sound nerdy. We covered the Canadian dairy, for example. It's 250-something%, right? And people would argue, well, actually, that's only the top-tier tariff, and so and we don't export enough dairy. Well, yeah, because of that top-tier tariff. So if you're going to look at the average tariff, you're going to look at the average penalties, for example, in a place like Canada, the average would be taken down because you go, well, hold on a second, we're only in that first tier because there's only about a 3% tariff or tax on dairy. It's like, well, yeah, but there are more dairy farms, there's more dairy production in Wisconsin than all of Canada. If not for that tariff, we'd be exporting a whole lot. So what really is 250-something% looks like zero, and that throws off the average. So you can't just list a tariff. It's a little more difficult. And I do think that actually looking at that trade imbalance is an important metric. And I think that Donald Trump knows that. If nothing else, this is kind of his strong suit. He understands this pretty well. He's the only president. He is the only president, at least in the last 2 centuries, who has direct experience with this, in dealing with manufacturing, in dealing with supply chains because of his businesses. The other ones before him, they wouldn't. They didn't have that experience in the private sector, and certainly not to this degree. So some of this is new, and yeah, I get it. There's some instability in these uncertain times. It's a good idea to be prepared for anything.
This is so nice. Next time, it'll be even better because I'll take you to a real restaurant with real people in a real building in the city.
What city?
Don't worry, I got 3 months of this My Patriot supply.
My hero.
How's that?
So good.
Oh, I know. It's my favorite.
Go to prepwithcrowder.com to claim your emergency food kit, and they'll throw in 4 free 72-hour food kits. That's an extra 12 days of food for free. What?
Prepwithcrowder.com. And by the way, you don't have to be some kind of a doomsday prepper. You have people right now who could use this where they're in a pathway of storms.
I want to get
to have
a
some
supply
water,
of that
some kind
stuff.
of a heating mechanism, like a Bunsen burner, and to have some food that can get you through it. So this stuff has a shelf life of 25 years, over 2,000 calories when you're looking at the servings. It's free shipping, 24/7 support, prepwithcrowder.com. Let's go back, and we have Viva Fry coming on. We've talked about this, but the biggest loser significantly here is China, right? They've been hit with a 34% tariff on top of an existing 20%. And by the way, backdoor countries like Vietnam have also been hit with a huge rate. For those who don't know, backdoor countries are countries that China uses to funnel their goods like this. And you were telling me this, President Trump also canceled the de minimis protections for places like Temu and Shein. That's where if it was below a certain amount, it was exempt.
Yeah, it allowed the cheap manufacturers like Temu and Shein to export their goods under $800 without any duties.
Right.
And so basically by getting rid of that protection, it will effectively ruin those companies' ability to export to the U.S.
You mean the ones that sell flammable children's onesies?
Those are the ones I'm talking about. Don't buy from Temu.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah, don't.
That's huge. That is those companies will, if this sticks, will not exist.
Right.
Yeah.
They will go out of business. And I didn't know this, but so are Taiwan semiconductors?
So if you actually look at a lot of these countries, there's a whole list of products that are exempt from these tariffs that he didn't really talk about because it doesn't drive home his point.
Right.
But semiconductors being one of them. So almost like
good.
Yeah, 60% of Taiwan's exports to the United States are in the semiconductor industry, so they're a little bit more protected than you'd initially think.
Is there something similar like that with Japan?
No, Japan, because most of theirs is automobiles.
Okay.
Korea is getting similar cuts too because they have a lot of semiconductor exports to the United States.
Okay.
So that's good to know. And the biggest winner you were talking about here is Mexico.
Yes.
This is something you're pretty passionate about because all of the USMCA, the compliant goods, they're exempt. So the same is true, by the way, for some of the auto tariffs that were announced last week. Only the goods originating in other countries like China will be affected, which by sheer coincidence timed perfectly with the unveiling of China's newest gift to Mexico, the province of Guangdong. It's racist two ways.
Guangdong is it's very hot and humid there. It's a lot like Houston.
Is it?
It is.
Nice.
Yes.
Except not as many fat people.
Prettier girls.
According to some.
They speak Cantonese, so do with that what you will. But
I don't know what to do with that.
I hadn't really thought about it, to be honest with you.
But you made this
In
point
Houston,
too.
they can't feel their knees.
When people talk about, you're destroying, one of the greatest things for the United States, or at least what could be a very big positive from this, would be an economically prosperous Mexico.
Correct. And now if you have a chance for U.S. investment to come in there, they're still going to be able to export to the United States. Their president has been very cordial in this whole deal. She showed you how to deal with it, while the Canadians have showed how to act like children.
Yeah.
And I think this will really benefit kind of that bilateral trade system. And yeah, if you want the cartel gone, there's nothing better than every Mexican to have a good paying job.
Yeah.
Really.
Also, hopefully, guns.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can
Like that's exactly what they're doing to the U.S.
Mexican citizens, not just the cartels.
And that's why they
Otherwise, you end up
hate
with your
that
head in a
Trump's
turtle.
bringing jobs back here.
One-sided.
The biggest question mark, I guess,
And
most uncertainty,
finding all
right?
of
You're
our
talking about
missing
countries
money.
like Japan, Korea, Taiwan.
Right.
This is one people are concerned about. Like they already have some pretty low tariff rates comparatively.
It's already very
because
outside of a couple.
I don't know
specific
about
products,
nowadays,
like
but at least
Japan
back
has a
then,
high rice levy,
9 out of 10
but
people are
I don't
always
mind
going to
that because we
choose
don't
a
export.
calmer,
export a lot to
normal,
them.
legit way of
But
life.
the point is they
than
can't
to
really
turn
lower their
to
tariffs much
drugs
more.
and crime.
Right. Yes.
If it's a possibility.
having to
That's
having to be on guard, watching your back all the time, and potentially go to jail or get shot and killed. Yeah. This is no brainer. If you can make that money doing something legit, they're gonna choose that.
Yeah, or even half of the money and not have to worry about being murdered every other day, or
Right.
at any moment, or
have the
not being
feds
able to
fucking
even have a
swarm in
normal
and
family.
wipe you out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that's why they've done everything that they've done. That's why they tried to keep the U.S. like everybody's so poor. That's what how like many people died. Like these.
Yeah, they're disgusting.
These people, yeah, they are so horrible.
I guess they could start increasing defense buys, but they're already doing that. The Japanese are already investing a ton of money into the United States. So I don't really know it. I would like and I think behind the scenes you'll get this in negotiations.
Yeah.
But you're not seeing at least forward facing. What is the ask from these countries that have apparently up until this point done everything that they've been asked to do? So I could see where there'd be some confusion in those capitals unless there's backdoor
And historically, Donald Trump has been very amenable to negotiations with allies.
Correct.
I would imagine this is a bargaining chip. Look,
the one thing I'm sorry, I know we have time, is Vietnam is the one that's screwed in this.
Yeah, they are.
Because so many companies reshored or went from China to Vietnam to avoid this exact kind of tariff.
Right.
Well, now that's not going to help them. Vietnam already dropped all tariffs, and they can't really afford to buy anything else from us because they don't have the per capita GDP to do so.
Right.
So I don't know what they can do. Maybe give us a naval base or something. But I feel very bad for the Vietnamese right now,
Trump,
especially
he's not
that's
like
the one
that.
country.
Like when things start actually getting changed around and we start benefiting and everything starts becoming a lot more beneficial for the U.S. from all these other crappy countries, those little countries will easily be able to help. So it won't even be an issue. And most Americans, once everything comes back into our pockets, will have no issue helping smaller countries like that for nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he might like suggest like, I don't know, something simple that they would be able to offer, but we would definitely be giving them a lot more than they would even be remotely offering us,
Right. In order to fix things, there are some things that are going to get broken.
For a little while. Yeah. Just like the economy, it's going to drop a little bit. And honestly, it really, like, they're like screaming, oh, he lost I think it was like $2 billion in a day. So what? That's like
our debt's 36 trillion.
Yeah.
That's like nothing.
When it bounces back, it'll be like 30, 40 times that. Like, so it's
right. We can't keep putting band-aids on this broken, nasty, corrupt, oppressive, artificially impoverishing system that we are that's currently been normalized.
Yep. And and they're bitching about like the short-term stuff. But if you look at the long term of both sides, like one's literally leading to complete destruction, breaking down, bankrupt, the worst possibility, and the other one's literally
Yeah,
the
if we
complete
make it through
opposite.
the hardship that's been caused by the other system, like we've become dependent on the other system to keep us going, but it's a broken system that's purposefully making things harder for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's going because we don't have the savings because this current system has
They stole
depleted,
it.
depleted all of our wealth. Had it not depleted all of our wealth, switching to tariffs would have been an easy breeze because we would have supplies to rely on. We'd have financial stability
reserve.
of our own, reserve to carry us through. But no, this current system's taken everything from everyone, and they're fighting to keep it.
Now, I did see an article. I didn't read the whole thing, but off the shore of California, they found a deposit of white gold that's worth like some 800 billion or something. And guarantee the only reason we didn't find that was because of the stupid laws that the Democrats have done for the EPA, where things wouldn't even have affected certain environmental stuff, but you know what I mean? It stopped us from doing all kinds of stuff for ourselves.
Yeah,
It just
that was
simple,
what it was
stupid
designed
stuff.
to do. That was the EPA was in place to help instigate or initiate all of this outsourcing. Like, oh, we can't build it here because it's against the environment, but we can have that country do it and then ship it to us.
And pay 3-4 times the amount of what it
Right.
would be. Yeah.
That country can do it with their slave labor and destroy their environment, and we're okay
Same
with
with
that.
how long we used to have processing plants here in the US, and they went through all kinds of crap to make sure all those got shut down. Like they made it purposely to make sure we had no processing ability in the US.
Right.
And the same way it went for ammo and stuff. That's we had problems with that because they made sure their laws made it so that all of that stuff had to be outsourced.
And most of this isn't laws. These are just regulations. They're not laws.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
That's a huge difference. Like they treat it like law, but it's not law.
It's not. Yeah. And the problem was they would fine the crap out of people until you couldn't do anything.
Right. And that's where the taxation without representation comes from.
Yep. That's something that people see. They don't even teach that in school no more. I guarantee it. I guarantee they don't even teach that in school about that whole thing. I know they don't teach anything like that.
Looking at the most kind of hyper focus because we really need that Vietnamese help if we're going to, work vis-a-vis China in that region. So I wouldn't want to be in Hanoi today.
Hey, Vietnam, we won the long game.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think that's
we forgot. How's the tiny shoe feel on the other foot?
Let's invest in the country, build it up, make it a first world country, then they can start buying our stuff.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, what's fascinating too, when we're talking about this, like the communism in China, is they don't have the ability, right? Their citizens don't have the ability to purchase a whole lot of U.S. goods.
No.
And here's what's funny, like communism, if people, it's not a bunch of hipsters and coffee houses. The idea is, okay, you're talking about the proletariat. They're going to seize means of control and production, right? And then they're going to be the ones to benefit from this instead of the business owners. In China, they just get the worst parts of communism without even the false perks. Like there's very little social safety net. So it's like, yeah, we're going to be communists, but all you workers, you're actually not going to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor at all. You're going to be in these factories, okay, we're going to control everything. You're not going to have a social safety net. And as soon as it's done, you get to make all of the cool crap, and it's gone to America. Yeah. So it's got to be, I often wonder how much the Chinese citizens have bought into the problem.
I don't know.
Well,
it's hard to tell.
That's like, we're talking about how they normalize taxation into basically impoverishment as a normal way of life. Like they've bred it into our society that, that's just how life is. Struggle paycheck to paycheck. Gotta climb that ladder. Work all those hours, not be with your family. because that's how life is. No, that's not how life is. That's their taxation theft causing you to be artificially impoverished to where you have to be punching a clock for a third or more of your life.
It's funny how close we were to the edge. Like
Daily
Obama's
life.
8 years and Biden's 4 years and everything they did even before that, like edged so close to everything. Like they really had people thinking like you had to sacrifice this just to get this. You had to sacrifice this just to eat for that day, or you had to kill yourself working 14, 16-hour days just to barely get by. You had to pay one bill and not like they really had like almost 90% of the families in America like living like that.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Trying to normalize it because they were sucking every last drop they could out of working class. Terrible people.
It just blows my mind that
People would vote for them. Yeah, it does. Like what is that? Munchausen by proxy or
yeah.
Is that what that's called? Where you identify with your captor.
Oh no,
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm, that's it.
Stockholm, yeah.
Both of them are probably valid.
Yeah, actually, yeah, because you making people think they're sick and poor is basically the same as Munchausen. So, no, look at all the medicine they pushed on everybody and all their pharmacy stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't enough to launder the
all
tax
right.
money, but no, you got to make people sick with the crap in their food, and then they have to go to the hospitals. And
like
big
wringing out an
pharma.
orange until there's like barely a peel left, and they're still trying to get juice out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone referred to this as being like a Hiroshima moment for the Chinese economy, because what you're doing is you're taking away their ability to export, which is what their entire economy is driven off of.
One more
because
thing,
they
though.
don't consume.
If can you imagine like how most of America's been living like that, and then everything just gets completely turned upside down?
Well, that's
and
why
now
that's why they're fighting so hard and they're having their foot soldiers burn Teslas, because if we get a taste of what it's like to actually be free, it's never going back.
Yeah. And to have that much money in our pockets on a daily basis,
You couldn't you couldn't bring that back. There would be no way, because if any politician that would come up and say, "Well, I'm gonna bring taxes back," they would literally lynch mob them.
Yep. Yeah, Democrats are already not going to be voted in for probably at least a few generations. Like, and if things like it's only been a few months.
This is just the beginning of his third month.
By the end of the year, and people start getting like payments from the government, and taxes are cut out of your paychecks, like it's just like it's mind blowing how well people are gonna like to have all the money, and you're gonna be able to do like everything. Like people will start being able to make their own companies and stuff. Like we are gonna blow up.
Right.
Like it's gonna be nuts. We were talking about streets lined with gold. If they would have never done this, like our streets literally would be like you'd never see anything broke down. Like we'd be so advanced, advanced right now. It's crazy. And
imagine the last 100 years last 100 years taxation wasn't a thing. Everything was paid with tariffs as far as the federal government was concerned. You'd have your state, your local taxes and stuff probably, but those rarely are ever any issue. Like if you think about how much you pay for your state and local taxes, it's like a drop compared to the federal tax that they take out of your check. And I'm not even talking like Social Security is not included in federal. That's a separate thing that's itemized on your paycheck that you pay into.
Yeah, I don't even think they'd even have like really any taxes, like with as much money, like man.
And I get like 18% taken out of my check.
Federally?
It's yeah.
Yeah, I have like almost a little about a third. I mean, Yeah, about a third of my check is taken just for federal taxes.
Yeah, yeah, but you make a lot more money than I do, man.
Yeah.
I remember when I was claiming single, and I worked almost 2 whole weeks in 1 week worth of work, and I brought home like a $2,000 check, and right off the bat they took almost $1,000.
Yeah.
It was pointless for me to even work all that overtime. It was
Yeah.
just
Oh
it
yeah,
made it
yeah.
dumb.
Like if you get like if you work anything past, if you're single and you work anything past 8 to 10 hours of overtime, it's just you might as well not do it. It's not worth it
Right.
Yep.
because
You're working for free.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're just working for taxes at that point. You're like, I don't even get that. Like I get $200 for like 2/3 more work. Like it's not worth it.
Right.
Like it's not worth it.
Right.
Let me go get a part-time job. Like,
Mhm.
it's not- like, do you know what I mean? Like it's not worth it.
Yeah. Yep. I was young and naive, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna get this nice check, and then I got it, and I was like, what the?
Yeah, government was like, thank you.
Math, yeah.
I feel
Thank you
like
for your overtime.
everyone goes that far. I'm like, why is there so much taxes? Oh, did you get overtime? Oh yeah, that's why. And I was like, they tax me more for overtime? What?
Right. But just imagine, like, I mean, I was there too. I know that. But
Yeah.
like these guys that I knew guys that were working like, like double shifts and stuff because you
Yeah.
have to work double shift to even get any benefit out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty great.
And that's the thing, like they passed the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime and all that through the House, but look at how many people shot it down that
Yeah,
voted
it should
and
have been that way already. Like that's the thing. Like something like that
Yeah.
should have
Oh,
already
did
been
the
like
Senate stop it? Of
I
course.
believe so. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
We
The
didn't get enough
Republicans
votes.
would. Yeah, the
that's
Republicans
horrible.
would.
No,
The
I think
Republicans would.
I don't quote me, but I think there was quite a few Republicans that supported it, but we just didn't
Still,
have.
it should have
Yeah.
been unanimous.
Yeah, it should have
Well,
been.
yeah,
And
but it's not because they're
yeah,
pocketed by corporations.
yeah, that's where they're getting all
Well,
their
no,
play money.
as we found out, it's the USAID and the
Yeah.
the government subsidized programs that take up most of the tax money.
Any of those programs that the leftists and Democrats created, yeah. Yep. Big money laundering schemes. That's all they
Hmm.
ever were.
Yep.
Well, yeah, yeah. No, I
Yeah.
understand that, but
Assume.
Which what they were using a lot of those to fund into NGOs and their nonprofits to funnel back to put into their campaigns.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, yeah, no,
Yep.
which is insane, but which is illegal.
Yeah. And
Which is
and
illegal.
paying for the propaganda.
By the
Most of
way,
those.
by
Yeah.
the way.
Buying off people, they were probably that's how they bought off so many people too.
Oh yeah, for sure. You know,
Yeah.
and that's really really how I don't know. Like every politician needs to be replaced. Like we really do need to replace every politician
Yep.
eventually, and
No,
get
yeah,
normal
term
people in
term
there.
limits would go a long way to
Yeah, there
that.
shouldn't
Oh,
be career
insane.
politicians.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. No, not at all. And then people always complain about how like older people, like my parents are at that age and they have been Medicaid and Medicare because like they've been poor their whole life, so they qualify for both. And so they finally have like medical insurance as they're like old and dying, right? Say, you know you know
Right.
um but like it's funny, it's like, oh well, if you want to fix the Medicaid problem or to have it cover more, because here's the thing, like, fun fact with medical insurance, um and like if Medicaid, 9 times out of 10, if Medicaid pays for it, your insurance is going to pay for it, right? They kind of set the standard. And so, and the commercial insurance follows suit. FYI, I used to be an insurance follow up, and so if you want to fix Medicare, the politicians get Medicare health
Mhm.
insurance, and guess what would happen?
Right. It'd be fixed real quick.
It would be if they would have an emergency meeting tomorrow, it would be fixed, it would be better, and no one would complain about Medicare ever again.
No. See, and I thought that was funny too. Kind of makes sense now, like how Obama could charge people for not keep doing his plan of insurance and stuff. And it was because it was basically him saying, like, forcing people to accept his money laundering scheme because he paid himself the $9 million or a year or whatever it was. And it was like a false
2.6 million.
yeah, it's ridiculous. And it was like a
To be
false
exact.
thing, like showing support. Like he forced people into supporting it because if you didn't, you got fined.
Mhm.
So like I don't even understand how that was even possible. Like I don't I think it was because Obama, like, if anybody really spoke out or said anything, they'd be like, "You're racist." I know that was a big thing for
Yeah,
a lot of
I mean,
people.
basically,
Yeah,
Right.
they use that.
yeah,
They use that.
yeah. Or they would be like, "Give him a chance, give him a
Yeah.
chance," and I was
You
like,
just
"I
don't want
did,
change.
I did for 4 years."
And then, see, that's why they brought Kamala too to try to pull the same thing. Well, if
Right.
it worked for a black man, it'll work for a black woman.
Mhm.
Even
Right.
better.
Double edge.
No,
Yeah, they're
yeah.
like, yeah.
See, that's the thing that I don't. So there's just some fundamental stuff that like I'm nonpartisan, right? I don't know if I told you guys that before, but I'm nonpartisan. Um, and like that's what I'm registered as. So I like in the state of Florida, like I can't vote in any like preliminaries. I'm not allowed to. I think most states, not all though. Um, some states do let you vote in the preliminaries, even if you're nonpartisan or you're not a Democrat or a Republican, right? Which so I personally feel like I should still be able to pick, just because I don't have a specific party affiliation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still feel like I should be able to pick who my candidates are. But that's just personally how I think. So some people be like, "Well, no, you're not even picking a side," and I was like,
That's part of
"Well,
their plan too. Yeah, they don't want
yeah,
you to have like to be able to pick from either side. They want you to
mhm,
define yourself. Like they want you to push you into a
yeah,
direction. That's how they are.
The
Like
only
that's
yeah,
reason that
mhm,
MAGA is attached to the Republicans, well, yeah, it's conservative leaning, but the Republicans are
sure,
more aligned with the values that, and it's like I said
yeah, and
before,
to run on it too.
the
President Trump
yeah
wanted to
sure,
run on it. So
right there was
yeah,
two parties are the only ones that are gonna
mhm,
get in. I mean,
yeah,
you have to pick
right.
one, but
Unfortunately, right,
yeah,
but
that's the
um,
problem.
people don't
but
realize that MAGA isn't Republican. It's because I'm a
It's
Democrat. I was a
American.
former Democrat.
mhm, yeah, people, yeah. I mean, my parents were Democrats for years. And then they were like, "What are we talking about
Or
gender for?"
I misspoke.
You know?
I am a former Democrat, not I was. Incorrect grammar. Anyway,
Oh,
um,
I don't know.
but yeah,
I
people
don't
like
know
I see
English.
people bashing MAGA. Like you guys realize this, MAGA is comprised of Democrats, independents, and conservatives that were
Yeah,
fed
it
up
came
with both
about
sides.
from just like from just
Sure.
wanting to support America and their people. That's it. That's like the basis
Yeah.
of it.
Mhm. Yeah, and I don't I don't know, you guys probably already know this, but like for example, like the popular vote for the Democratic convention wasn't Biden, like it was Bernie Sanders,
Right.
Yeah.
but they didn't pick him, right?
But
Um,
Bernie's got a good racket
you know?
going though. He
Yeah.
kind of
No,
splits.
and like here's
He
the
gets all the
thing.
money and takes off.
Yeah, yeah. No, and like here's the thing, like I'm just gonna be honest, like I would much rather have had Bernie than Biden, hands down.
Right, but
Oh, I would have too.
Biden
Yeah.
was put in because Obama wanted a third term.
Yeah.
Right, right,
Yep.
yeah. Um, And so I feel like what am I trying to say? I feel like, and then also with their like power delegates they have, Democrats in their Democratic convention, which is like I don't know, I'm not using the right term, but do you guys know about that? Which is like I'm like that's crazy. So not only do they have delegates, but they have certain delegates that their vote counts a
More.
greater percentage of
Right.
another delegate's vote.
I
And I
wonder
was like,
how.
well, that could totally change who is the nominee.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder
Like,
how that's going to be affected now that they don't have all of that extra slush money to throw around.
yeah, but I mean, and so that was the point. Like, for example, that's why Bernie wasn't elected as the Democratic nominee and Biden was, right?
Well, he also didn't bend to like. It seems like Bernie has more of his own thoughts for a lot of
He
things, and they
does.
don't like that. Yeah, they
Right.
definitely don't
You
like
can't
that.
be an
They like.
independent thinker over there on that side. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, and he does. He definitely has like his independent thoughts and theories, and like some of the stuff he says, like I agree with. Like, I don't think I don't think and a lot of like business people would probably like not like me or him, but like I don't think that like the majority of the wealth should be controlled by 3% of the population in the United
No.
States, but it is.
Yeah. But that's
You
the
know?
thing, though. A lot of the leftist stuff, the Democrat stuff, is the reason it ended up that way. Like they scream capitalism, but
Uh,
capitalism is more of a fair
no,
playing field than
I mean, yeah,
I
no.
mean, look too with
So
if they
the rich
established
just wants to get more money. Like that's the bottom line. Like they're
Well,
well,
everybody
greedy.
wants to get more money.
yeah,
I mean, you can't
Yeah,
go around saying
but
that
yeah,
the rich are the only one that want to get. Like, everybody wants to get rich. I mean, that's
but the
yeah.
problem
But the rich
is
just want to get more money. And like you can't be like that's not a thing, right? In like
the
corporations.
the difference is
Oh,
though
they
is one group wants to do it through their own means of working and make their own money. The other group wants to take everybody else's money and tell you what to do with it.
right.
That's like the
I wish it was
biggest.
that simple. I wish it was that simple, but it's
It
not.
really is. It really
I
is.
mean,
It's really not. It's really not. You can't. It's really not. It's really not.
If you're
well, if
dictating
you look
how
at
much wealth someone can have, that's an imposition on freedom.
and
No,
communism too,
I'm
like
not
they want to instate communism,
I'm
but
not.
then like
I'm not
who's the
dictating.
one who
Yeah.
says what goes with the money? If they want to be the ones in control of where the money goes, like they were. I mean, we were actually literally living and seeing the result of them being in charge of dictating where the money goes. I mean, that's their
Yeah.
program. They started that. They
They
dictated
dictated
where the
through
money went,
USAID
and this
where
is
our
the
tax
product.
dollars went to enrich
Yeah,
themselves.
I
for the
mean,
past 100 years
yes.
almost. So
Right.
I mean, we're literally seeing it and living in it right now. I mean, so I mean, like people can't really argue with that because I mean, we wouldn't have known nothing about any of this if it wasn't for Trump and Elon going in and looking at it and seeing it and
No.
seeing who was doing it.
Well, I mean, it didn't take a genius. Well, I guess it did, but I mean, I guess it did, but it shouldn't have taken a genius to
To do
go
that.
to go. I wonder where all the money is going.
Right.
Exactly.
But the
Yeah.
problem
But
was
with them in
they had
charge
it
of it.
they had it
Yeah.
obfuscated so expertly that
Yep.
even the computer systems didn't talk to each other.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, and
And
I'm
they
sure that was
manipulated it. So,
it
and the
was
people working under
intentional.
them too were all people who they would just give money to. You think any of
Right.
them people, if you're making that much money from them, are you going to say anything to anybody?
Well, no, no. What that's what I'm saying is like it goes deeper than just like a political or a partisan divide in the
Yeah.
country.
It's the
Right.
It
type of
But
goes to
people.
the
But see,
if
character
you look at the
of American
majority of
citizens.
CEOs are left leaning.
yeah,
Media is left leaning.
Mhm.
most of the rich, yep.
Department of
Look at Soros.
Education is left leaning. Like it's
Yeah.
just right down the list. It's left leaning.
Yeah. And if you look at especially nowadays, like maybe not decade or two ago where because a lot of the Republicans now that are running are people who have been in the military, people who have actually had other lives and then went to politics. But if you look at it now, most Democrats, why are they rich? Because they made their money being a career politician. Most
Right.
of the
Selling
Republicans are
selling
people who've
themselves.
lived other lives. Yeah, and actually most of them now, like Dan Bongino and them and a whole bunch of others are actually stepping in as a politician and losing most of their fortune and their income.
Right.
And then like you look at it like why did it take two men that built themselves up themselves and didn't steal money from other people to make their fortune? They made their own money and then went into politics and
Right.
decided to
And are
fix things,
losing money.
So
Right.
not the
so
other way around.
right. But see, but the reason why they weren't deterred by that, or the reason why they weren't as affected by that as other people, is because they already had money.
Yeah, they can't be
So,
bought. And that's see,
Right.
that's what made me
right.
vote for President Trump in the first place. Like
Right.
I looked at the stuff and you could just tell like obviously no one's gonna have enough money to persuade him to do something. If he you know what I mean? Like that's what got me in the first place to vote for him because I could see that. And then the more the media started to attack him and started to look at him like he was a joke and stuff, like
Sure.
it kind of made more sense. Oh,
It
he's
made him
somebody
the
that
underdog.
they're not going to control. Yeah,
Yeah.
he ain't going to let them boss him, push him,
Yeah.
or anything like that.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
so,
so
but like, if I, what I'm trying to say is, or what I've been trying to say is this, is like it goes a lot deeper than just that. It goes to the fundamental, um, how our society is, and how far
yeah.
we've fallen as a
Well,
country and as people, and as a being like noble, good people. Like we're not that way anymore,
yeah.
and we
Well,
really need to get
Democrats they
back
were
to
never
that.
like that. Yeah, it's like they hijacked the whole Democratic
Yeah,
Party. Like they
but
made it into something
yeah.
it never was.
Yeah,
So
but
yeah,
yeah, no, but see, here's the thing. If all the Republicans were like that, it would have never happened because they would have stopped it before now.
yeah.
Oh no,
Well, it
that's
took a
why I
lot. I mean,
said
Yeah,
there's
you know
MAGA.
what I'm saying? So
MAGA is
yeah,
mad at
so
both of them, and that's why we
right,
formed.
right,
yeah.
right. But that's what I'm trying to say. Like it's not just partisan; it's people in
Well, yeah,
general.
and if President Trump could have ran on a whole different part, he wanted to. He didn't want to run as either. He actually was going to run Democrat from went long before when he even talked about running for president. He was actually going to go in as Democrat. He
Right,
couldn't
he
go into
was.
anything else, so that's why he chose running for Republican.
Right.
Um,
Right. No.
but if there like even with yeah, like my brothers, even if there was like that's what I posted too under the one thing. Like there needs to be a whole other party started that
I
literally
agree.
sticks to the second like or to the Constitution and the well-being of American people. Like that should be
Well,
priority
yeah,
one.
yeah,
Right. It's
exactly.
kind of what the MAGA
Unfortunately,
party is, but we
Turned
had
right.
to
into yeah
attach
it
to the Republicans in
Yeah,
order to get
yeah
and
anywhere.
like
yeah
it
it
wants
eventually
to be
turned into that.
right. It wants to be, and
Yeah
it's not quite there yet, right?
Right.
Because,
We can't.
um,
Yeah, we still stuck in
yeah.
this two-party
yeah there's
system.
still yeah
Well,
there's
yeah, yeah. I mean, and unless something changes drastically, neither the Democrats or the Republicans are going to share power. They're going to keep it to where it's just
Right.
them two. I mean, that's the way
yeah.
it's been for the last since our country was established, right?
Well, see, that's
They've
the next
never
step
let.
he's doing too.
They've
He's
never.
pushing towards term
They've never.
limits too, which is gonna fix
Yes,
so
yes,
much.
that will fix a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And I also think what would be cool, I don't know, and maybe me and you talked about this too one time, Shamir, I can't remember, but I don't know if it was you that actually I was like, that's a really good idea or something like that. Um, you might have said this, it might have been your idea actually, Shamir. I don't know, because I think we talked about something, but it was something like the third party, like need like I think it would be cool to or um like, it to be like a lottery system, and,
Yes.
like, people
Oh
are just
yeah.
randomly
Yeah,
selected,
I've talked about this a
and
lot, where it's like jury
yeah.
duty.
Jury
Yes,
duty.
that
Yeah.
would be
Yep.
so
You
good,
get
that would
paid
be so
minimum
good.
wage. You go in, do your thing
Yep.
for the time. You can only do it twice in so many like months or years or
Yeah.
whatever, and
Yep.
that's it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
rotate it
yeah,
out.
because yeah,
You
yeah, yeah,
don't know when. Yeah. Yeah, that would be good. That would be
it would
good.
be it'd be pretty cool.
It would change a lot of stuff. Yep.
Yeah, it would.
There kind of wouldn't be no need for a left or a right, honestly, if it
Mhm.
was done like that. It would just be for America.
People.
Yep.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have a
Yeah,
lot of time to do your own agenda. You wouldn't.
Plotting,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you would just try to, and that's the thing, like, our Constitution was made for, like, good men and women, like, people
Yeah.
that, like, not only were educated, but that weren't greedy.
Yeah, they had,
That didn't
morals.
they had morals and
Yep.
convictions, and
Right.
they couldn't be bought, but that's not the thing, like, that's not the
Well,
thing anymore.
just
So we have to either get back to that, or we have to change the Constitution, to incorporate those morals and values into the government itself, if we're not going to choose to live by those standards. That's
I
my
think
opinion, though.
I think they did kinda cover it a bit, but I don't think they could ever imagine how
you can't
depraved and
control
nasty.
people like
Yeah.
that. Um,
Like
even
Well,
if you
yeah,
wanted
no,
to, even
I'm
if you
not
wrote,
saying I'm not saying that our founding fathers were, like, stupid or anything, I'm
But
not
they
trying to
probably
say that at
never
all.
imagined the people from today.
well,
They could
the
have never imagined
depravity
people today.
comes from that taxation.
Yeah.
It all stems back to the taxation theft, because
Yeah.
you're artificially impoverishing people when they know, I'm working this hard. I shouldn't have these struggles. Well,
Yeah.
no, you
You're
shouldn't.
literally killing people for
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
they're
Yeah,
putting their
yeah.
thumb on you and artificially making things harder for you,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and
No, yeah,
that causes people to steal, to do things
Yeah.
Yeah. No, to
that
survive.
they wouldn't normally do otherwise.
No, and I totally get that too. So that's why I think it's a lot. Um, I mean, it's not going to be changed in a 4-year term. It's not going to
No.
be changed in an 8-year term. Like, it's gonna have
Well,
to
they took
take.
a lot to tear it all down. Like, look, Obama
Yeah.
had 8 years, Biden had 4. Before that, they were still working there. I mean, they've been working at it for a long time to destroy everything. So,
Right.
and set up their own money laundering for a long time now. I keep calling for
Oh
them,
yeah.
like, because a lot of the Democrat elites, like Obama's, Biden's, Hillary's, they should all be treated just like they treated the mafia and do a RICO and get all of them, because they all had their hands. Their entire families have. I mean, like,
Oh
there's
yeah.
100% proof that they all had their
But
hands and knew
yeah,
what was going on. So yeah,
and that's the thing. And I don't know. I think it was. I think it's. Yeah, like, that's tricky, right? Like,
yeah,
if they want to do that, because the problem is they're gonna have to mitigate it, and, like, I wouldn't want that job of mitigating that, because that's the thing, because then you have to be like,
that'd be a lot.
"Well, our
It would
system's
be a
not
lot.
working." Then you have to admit, like, "Our system is not working."
Yep.
And
Well,
so then it has to change.
yep.
So what are you going to change in it?
Right.
And no one
Yeah, it
wants to
would
go
be a.
there. No one wants to go there yet, right?
Yep.
Well,
No
that's
one.
that's
Yeah,
why
that's the
we're here where
problem.
we're at right now,
Yep.
changing
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
got so
yeah.
fed up. They're like, no, we want Trump back in so he can take a wrecking ball to it all.
Yeah.
Well, no,
That's
yeah,
where we're
because
getting
it
to.
was well, yeah, and I think the primarily reason why I think more people ended up, this is my opinion, voting for him is just because, like, I think the American people, they I think they, like, it was blatant that, like, we were being lied to,
Yeah. Yep.
you know? It was blatant,
And
that
the
kind of stuff was
attacks, the
happening.
constant attacks on them, where they came up with nothing, and they tried to claim there was everything and this and that, and they kept getting proven wrong. Like, it just got to people. Like, you're spending that much tax money to attack somebody, and you're always coming up with no evidence. Like that. That really got a lot of people.
Yeah, they look like the
Everybody got kind
bullies
of
that they
tired of
are.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I agree, and so I think that's, well, one of the many things they.
It also didn't help that they basically put a cadaver in office who
Right.
can't finish a complete
Yeah.
sentence.
Yep. And
Who
claimed he
No.
was sharp as a tack. Every
Yeah.
day they claimed.
his cabinet, his people would always have to speak for him. There were times where he just was
Yeah.
MIA. And
You
this
know,
was doubly true for Kamala. Like, where's Kamala?
Yeah. Yeah.
it wouldn't
She was.
surprise me if after because he was cognitive while he was campaigning.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if they were feeding him stuff to give him mental decline.
Yeah. Or hopping him up on drugs.
Yeah, so
Keeping
that
him all
he
drugged,
could be
doped up.
more controlled.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that guy, the one who was working with him, came out and said that he didn't even know nothing about the one situation when he came to talk to him about it, and he talked to him, and he knew nothing about what was going on. And
Well,
he came
yeah.
out, he did an interview and said that's literally what was going on. Like, he didn't know anything was going on. He didn't know what anything that people literally forged his signature. So, I mean, like, when is all that? Like, I know Elon said that there's like 400 arrest warrants coming and high level arrests coming and stuff, but like, I want to
So
start seeing them.
Yeah.
I don't like, to be honest, this is just my opinion. I don't think they're actually gonna do anything with that. But that's just my opinion. Like, I would be surprised if they actually did.
Yeah, I would be surprised too. But
It's the only thing. Yeah, if it doesn't start happening, like, that's the only thing, like, that will really start. Well, and I know most of America's going to start. Like, they're already talking about, like, why hasn't the Epstein list been completely released? Like, who cares? Like, that's the one thing that's kind of bugging me too. I don't care about if there's friends on there or something. Like, it needs to be released.
Right.
Like, people need to
Yeah.
know what's going on with people like that.
No, I mean, I agree, but I just I don't.
Well, like I
Yeah.
told you this yesterday that the key witness in the Epstein list, like a day before she was going to testify, she got hit, into a bus accident and was given days to live.
See,
Yeah, it's horrible.
that
That's horrible.
means like that's not. I mean, is it possible? Yeah, but the mathematically,
Right.
really,
Statistically,
like,
it's
is it possible?
ambiguous.
Right? No, and like that's terrible. But like, and then, but like, no one does anything about that. They just go, well, no more witness.
Yeah, it was an
Because they're
accident.
dead.
Yeah.
And I'm
Just like
like,
the
why are they dead?
just like that insurance CEO was supposed to testify against Pelosi, and the guy killed him. And this guy was like a ninja getting out of New York City, dodged all the cameras, and literally disappeared from New York City, which is literally one big camera.
Yeah.
He disappeared
It
from that
is.
city,
From the
and then
city that never
yeah,
sleeps.
yep, and appeared in a McDonald's like forever away, like just chilling in a McDonald's.
Right,
Like,
but the thing is, if you look at the camera footage, the jacket is a different color,
yeah, it's all
and
different.
like, yeah, like I think he's a
Yes.
patsy. I think he's a patsy
Yeah.
taking the fall.
Yeah, it don't make sense, and none of it adds up the right way. It don't. Like,
Yeah,
you're not
no.
a super agent ninja dog.
Mm.
Dude, he literally
Like, yeah,
disappeared
the
after he
dude
killed
that
that
pulled
guy.
that off was special forces,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't.
And this
Yeah.
dude,
Then he doesn't just show up at a McDonald's
Luigi
eating French
guy,
fries.
yeah, he's like he just seems like some kid.
He was, yeah, just some college kid too.
Yeah, see.
It doesn't add up at
Yep.
all. He would have been honestly like, okay, so you planned all that, you did all that, and then you had no plan after it.
Yeah,
You were
just
just gonna
show
hang
up in a
out and
McDonald's.
chill. Yeah, you weren't gonna go to another country, like you
Yeah,
just
that like
you're
where
just
the
gonna go chill.
actual assassin is now in some other non-extradition country
Yep.
Yeah.
with a suitcase full of money.
We're back at CIA headquarters. Yeah.
Oh yeah. took his glasses with mustache off, and now he's back at the FBI.
I know, going through the JFK files, it's starting to sound more and more like the CIA killed him.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
That is not
Yeah.
okay.
And you play the video, like if it was any more high def, if it could have been any more high def, you can definitely see that driver turn around, and he you can see him like point it right at his head, and you see him pull something, and I don't know, if it was any more high def, you'd be able to easily see it.
Yeah.
It's All that stuff needs released. Everything, even the the alien investigations, Area 51, like all that stuff should be released.
Speaking of which, before we get too into it here,
yes, I'm
let
sorry.
let's go to this. Chilling declassified CIA file reveals aliens committed revenge massacre after UFO was shot down. Now, being that it's only a couple days after April Fool's, I looked at it. I'm like, no, this has got to be Tim pulling an April Fool's video. But it seems like it's serious, but ridiculous at the same time.
According to declassified CIA documents, aliens committed a revenge massacre after a UFO was shot down. What? Here's a look at read more. Aliens must exist beyond Earth, leading scientist insists. Part of me wants to believe that if aliens do exist, they're well beyond the impulsive behavior of engaging in revenge massacres.
Wow. You never know.
I was watching Star Trek: The Next Generation the other day. Started it over. It's probably
It might
the
not
6th or
be
7th time I've
revenge.
watched
It
the
might
whole
just
series.
be quieting people and covering a situation up.
Right.
Doesn't have to be for revenge.
And it's for those that don't know, so I have a young baby daughter. She's a month old, and I gotta get her started on Trek as soon as you can, TNG specifically. But more importantly, in the first episode, for those that don't know, basically the Enterprise, the spaceship, there's people working on it. It's like militaristic, but not.
He didn't say
It's naval tradition, but not overtly
he didn't say
militaristic.
the original series.
And they
did he?
encounter a
Come
powerful
here.
being that puts a force field around them, and the captain is like, "Let's try and break through the barrier." Like, not straight through it. They try to go around it and escape the entity. And it's like this entity straight up nearly froze one of their crewmen to death, clearly exerting powers beyond their comprehension. And I'm just saying, like,
to be fair, the first 2 seasons of
point,
TNG are very TOS.
Yes.
Yeah, no one remembers those.
People remember them, or there would not be a TNG.
Yes. That is true.
I'm happy.
Because
I'm
when
happy
I
that it
first
was
saw The Next
successful.
Generation, I was like, okay, what's the first generation? Like, what is that? And I went looking for a show called Star Trek: The First Generation that does not exist.
Yes, you are correct. I did the same thing too, but I watched the first movie and I was like, I'm going back to Next Generation. I was like, oh, I'm glad that's in the past. We can move forward now with the future. I'm glad those walked that road so I didn't have to.
There's a lot of good stories in the original series.
Yes. A lot of stories that
they're moral plays. That's the point of them.
Yeah,
well, that's good. That's good.
Some of them probably would not be able to be aired today.
Maybe
Right.
maybe we could we could get like a hashtag reimagined, like redo with a new crew.
You'll lose. You'll lose the actors are the actors, and they put themselves into the material. Like, if you take that away.
So I do feel like I have to say, like, I'm not a fan of them going. It's just me. Like, I want to go forward in the timeline. You know how like Picard went forward in the timeline. Like, I didn't even care what they gave me. I was just happy we went forward, not backwards. Like, I'm so tired of like Enterprise. I'm so tired. Like, I was so frustrated how Discovery started back then. I was frustrated how they like rebooted. They did the whole Kelvin timeline, and they rebooted it again, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, can we not just make up something new and
I did
exciting?"
like
I want the
Enterprise
story to
for
keep
it
going.
showing like the birth of the Federation and the first Warp 5 engine.
Well, yeah,
That was kind of
and
cool.
I'm not.
Well,
Yeah, that was kind of cool. But what I'm saying is, I just like it to go forward. I don't want to be like, well, the only thing we can do is go back now. Like, no,
Well-
like let's just keep going. But really do enjoy Strange New Worlds. I have to say, I
The
really like
problem
it.
is they
Even
don't have
though,
visionaries anymore like that.
even
So it's
like,
hard to go
but
past that future that Gene Roddenberry and
Right. Yeah,
Well,
you can't.
yeah.
You
I
can't.
mean,
Yeah, you're boxed in
yeah.
now because
Yeah.
you have to check these
You're
boxes.
limited, and yep, yep.
I
You
don't know.
can't
I
have
feel like
imagination.
I don't know. I just feel like there's plenty of fantasy and sci-fi writers that have plenty of imagination. I
And
just
plus,
think that they need
think
to.
about a future from like if with all the leftist
Yeah.
crap like that we just got through. Like, what kind of a future would that be? Like, really?
It does say.
Everybody's in the same color.
Yeah.
Everybody's, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing. There's no imagination. There's no like everything that like look at the art.
Because any imagination would be offensive.
Yeah.
But
Like I was watching like
so
my girlfriend, she watches the Kardashians, right? So their
yeah.
family used to do Christmas pictures
Sorry.
with their entire family, right? They do Christmas cards. So they would all
Uh-huh.
get together, the kids, the family, they dress nice and actually get Christmas cards. So when Kim got with Kanye, they meet this new artist to do a freaking Christmas card. What does he do? The whole thing of it, he takes out all the Christmas. It's a Christmas card. Then he tells them he doesn't want any of the kids in the Christmas card. And then he
Because
throws
it's Christmas.
yeah, it's a Christmas card.
Oh.
He doesn't want any of it, doesn't want kids in it. And he puts up it looks like San Francisco street with trash and garbage in it, and they're all like wearing futuristic weird stuff. And he takes pictures of them, and the one sister had to argue with him to get her kids. Like, first off, they're paying for him to do a picture for them, and she had to argue with him to let the kids in the picture.
Oh my
I'm like,
gosh.
what the? And like, there was nothing in the picture about Christmas at all. You're gonna
Okay.
send Christmas cards out that have nothing to do with Christmas? Like, it was like I told my girlfriend, I said, this is the point where I'm sure they really came in and controlled them, and I like it's just you could see all the kind of like demonic stuff, and like it just kind of like was just completely opposite. Like they didn't want nothing. That was like I think that was almost right around towards the end of Obama's uh, reign, where he took Christmas out of schools and did all that. It like went right along with that. And I'm like, why would you do something like that? You know what I mean? Like
It's
it just
attack on Christian
it's
values.
yeah. Yeah, they destroyed it all, and I'm like, why you're paying for something, but he's telling you what's gonna be in it. Like that don't make sense.
All right,
It just
Amy,
don't.
you were gonna say something earlier. Sorry, I noticed.
Yeah, I mean, Alea, you were kind of complaining about Enterprise, and it took Enterprise a bit to kind of find its footing.
It's
But like
true,
a time
but
travel story like they did in season 3, okay,
yes,
that works. That could be a reason to go back. Like, oh, hey, somebody's
it's
messing with the
true. It's
timeline. We
true.
need to fix that.
No, I agree. And so,
Another issue, and they kind of did this to themselves with Voyager. At the end of Voyager, the Federation is now the most powerful faction in all of Star Trek because they have
yeah, in
transphasic
existence.
torpedoes and all these futuristic technologies. So it's like, okay, unless you invent a rule where we ban those because it's not fair, you can't have any kind of tension. You can't have tension now.
Right.
It's like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't do a show like that. Because I was kind of wondering, it's like, God, how are they going to go forward from here? And then Enterprise comes out.
Yeah.
Oh, guess they're going to go back.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I still wanted it to go forward, right? And then they finally went forward with Picard, but it is funny that like they never brought up like it was transphasic, right? It was the transphasic torpedoes, is what you
Transphasic
just said.
torpedoes, yeah.
Yeah, they're crap in the game, but like amazing in real lore life. They're, they're
Right.
like, and then it was the
I want them to be so
Cadence
good.
tornado. Oh, I know, I do too. I'm like, like
I
one
look at them,
laser
I'm
beam
like, these
blowing
should
up.
be good on paper. They're good. But then you put them in your ship and you're like, this sucks. They're
You're like,
crap.
I guess I'm going to my black matter now, but
Oh
anyway.
man, that red matter thing from the movie too was like awful. I thought that was crazy. I
But
can't like,
yeah,
and my
so no, so I was happy that, but what I was trying to say is like I really do like Strange New Worlds, like, and it's going back like before Kirk, um, and like I never thought that I would like a starship captain better than Picard, but I have to say like the guy who's playing Christopher Pike is like doing a phenomenal job. I think he's kind of like, I mean, he's great as far as like being like just a good captain and doing the right thing regardless of if it's regulation or not.
Well,
So I really like that.
keep in mind that's also how it's written. So it's kind of
Yeah,
like,
but isn't it like how it should be?
well, it's like I like the Picard character, but Patrick Stewart has said enough shit in public that I would never want to meet the guy.
Well, yeah, that's true, right? Like there is some stuff that you're like, oh, you meet your like these actors and you're like, oh, you're like, and it's funny, like
There
you're
was
like, oh,
actually
you're
an
not a good
episode in
character.
Enterprise talking about never meeting your heroes.
Yeah, like because like, well, if my hero is fake and it's a character in a movie, like I should know that's not how they are in real life, right? But we like to think of them as who they play and
Larger
not,
than life, right?
yeah,
I don't know.
not.
One person I would like to meet is Keanu Reeves. He
Yeah.
seems pretty true.
Yeah,
Like everything
he's
I've seen and read about him, he's like the one only
He
person.
seems
Mel
he
Gibson too.
seems
He's pretty good.
Yeah, he seems cool. I also think Jake Gyllenhaal is pretty. He seems
Yeah.
pretty good
Yeah.
too, like all around. And like, Tom Holland is finally coming off of his like I'm so popular high. Um, and it's nice to see him kind of like settling in and him not being like overwhelmed with that because like he was speaking out against Hollywood too, and I thought that was a great.
Yeah.
But
That was
anyways.
that was my point about that whole Christmas thing. My point is how like back in the day, like you had your Leonardo da Vinci and like art and the way the buildings and everything were made, and nowadays what goes for art is literally garbage. Or like a banana taped to it, like that's literally an art display. A banana taped to a board.
I saw someone stacking buckets of sand.
Yeah.
That was art.
Yep. Yep. Or butter thrown around. I've seen that. Like that goes for art. Like look at our streets too. Like I love seeing the pictures of like old Italy where the buildings were designed and like so much stuff was put into them, and nowadays like everything's just like they've taken the beauty out of everything. Like
I knew a
it's the
guy
worst.
who had a painting, and the painting it's impossible to describe because it's basically if you took your fingers and dipped each finger in a different colored paint and then smacked a canvas for 5 to 10 minutes so it's covered in all these strange fingerprints. And I was asking him like, what is this? And he's like, oh, it's some art that's some famous. And I'm just trying to process like what there's no discernible shape. There's nothing. You can't discern anything. It's like I would at least be like, oh, I picked this out because I could make out the shape of a dog. Okay, cool. You can see something, and it's like I stared at it. I'm like, there's no shape. There's no pattern. There's nothing. This is literally pure chaos on a canvas. And
but that's the
you
art.
paid for this.
Yeah.
It's called abstract, Adrian. It's called abstract art. Did you not learn this in school?
I make abstract art in the toilet, and only my cat likes it.
You could probably take a picture of that and frame it and be like, look,
This is my art.
$500,000.
The appropriate thing is to assess, retreat. You are engaging with a hostile force. You need to know what you're doing. So when I see this story and it's like aliens committed a revenge massacre, I don't know if something did happen. I doubt it was just revenge because any intelligent species would be like, let's assess the situation. A bone-chilling document declassified by the CIA has exposed an alleged massacre by aliens from a crashed UFO who turned an entire military unit into stone. Jeez. According to the report, Soviet troops shot down a flying saucer hovering over the Soviet military unit in Siberia roughly 35 years ago. And what happened next was terrifying. In the document, summarizing a 250-page top-secret file acquired by U.S. intelligence agents, eyewitnesses said 5 aliens climbed out of the wrecked aircraft, combined themselves into one creature, exploded in a burst of intense energy, and turned 23 soldiers into solid rock.
That's insane.
You know what that
There's no way
sounds
this is
like?
real.
AI type drones and them turning to rock would just be like them being petrified, like just how like some of our fossils and stuff. So it would be like the same process, just in an instant. So it's completely possible.
The absurdity of this story lends me to believe it's probably true.
Well, that too, like the whole stone thing, that was it written in the Bible too about the Nephilim, and what happened to them is they would get turned to stone. And some of the statues, like when the parts break away, like I've seen the pictures of the statues where like the leg, it breaks away and you can even see the underlying structure, like their bone and the muscle underneath that's showing through. Like there's all kinds of stuff like that too. So that's kind of crazy that came up. Wow.
Yeah.
I am
One CIA
hesitant
official
to believe
referred
this.
Well, see, we believe it because a little bit more because me and my brother actually, and this was before anybody even mentioned triangle-shaped UFOs, because for the most time it was all everybody saying circle UFOs. But when we were younger, we both seen a triangle UFO right above us, tree level above us, and we were standing with a group of kids, a big group of kids, and it was like
Yeah.
they were being controlled. Like we were trying everybody was in a circle and me and my brother were the only ones who like were looking up at it. And then when we went to tell everybody, it's like they had nothing behind their eyes, and every single one of them was just randomly talking. They were just talking. Yeah, I don't even remember, like I don't even think I could make out what everybody was saying or anybody was really actually saying. They were just talking and staring.
Yeah, I don't even know.
And
Like, okay, so there on our street, we lived on the corner of two streets, a main highway, Route 62, and there was a road that came off at kind of like in an angle, Bradley Road. So we lived on that corner, and then up a ways, like like a block, I would say, because
yeah,
this
about
is
a
in
block.
this is in rural areas, so it's not really a block. But up a ways, there was another road that cut off, and it kind of made a triangle. It went back to down towards Route 62. So like you could literally walk around that triangle. And we went up and we would meet because my friend from high school, he lived on the corner of where Bradley Road and that other road, I can't even remember what the road was.
Yeah, they all lived around like all the
Right.
houses around there, all the kids we were friends with.
And at that corner across from his house, but on the same triangle as the piece where we lived on, there was a willow tree on the corner, and we very quiet neighborhood, like we were literally standing in the street talking in a circle, and I happened to look up, Kane happened to look up, and I was like, I elbowed him. I'm like, what is that? And we were looking at it because it had like, it was triangular shaped, had lights on the tips that were rotating, like red, green, blue, like the colors were rotating on the tips, and it was there was no hard edges. It was very aerodynamic, rounded edges, and even though it was triangular shaped, like where like the inner, like between the points would curve inward, and it was just, there was no sound coming from it. It was very ominous. Like you could hear the wind rustling through the willow tree and everyone talking. But looking at this, if we hadn't looked up, we would have never known it was there. And it kind of hovered above the tree, moved to the right, turned a little, moved to the left, like it was observing us. And we were like trying to tell him, hey, look. And yeah, we're trying to get them to look up, and they weren't listening. And then
they were just gone.
And then it turned and shot off, and we just took off and ran home because we busted in the door. We're like, Mom, we saw this thing. But as I analyze that memory, more and more, I think that maybe something else happened to us because
because like he remembers, like we were both there. Remember, we were both there. We both remember we did leave the house. We did go back home. The timing is completely lost on us. Like
I
if it
know it
was
was
a
evening when we ran back because the sun was setting and
yeah,
it was a
and we
reddish
had to
sun.
be home. Yeah. But see, when we left the house though, I believe it was in summer, or at least I think we left early in the morning because we would do that. We just get
Right.
up and we'd go outside and meet our friends, and we'd be out all day. And I believe that's when we left. But then the whole situation to us only lasted like a few minutes,
Yeah, a few minutes. And
and then
I think the reason why none of our friends were responding to us is probably because they weren't really there.
it might not have been. Yeah. I remember pushing on people and because I was littler, and I remember pushing on them, and they just were just staring off, and just their mouths were just running.
Because there's
And
another component to this memory that I have.
he remembers a different spot too. It was in the general same area. I remember we were a little further up in our one friend's yard, and he remembers we were down a little bit.
Right,
So there is
in the
still a
road.
little bit of different, yeah. So
And then
our memories. We
I
wanted to go. I
also
think we should do hypnosis and.
Yeah, we should, but there's another part of this memory that I remember that doesn't make sense. Like I remember seeing striations in the metal of the hull of the vessel, whatever it is, with the sun reflecting. You know how you see a
I remember the sun reflecting.
metal that's not painted, and you can see like the rainbow
Lines in it?
striation. Yes. How
I
could
don't
I see
remember.
that if I was down on the ground, unless I was floating up closer to it?
See, I don't remember I remember the metalish look of it, but it was almost like I wouldn't say designs, but you could kind of see maybe if it was how it was put together or something, you could see um something in it is all. And I'm I remember looking at it from right, if I was right below it. You know what I mean? Right up to it, and standing right underneath it, so I could see across, almost if your head was touching it and you were looking straight across the bottom of it. That's what I remember seeing of it.
Hmm.
And then besides from being down below and looking up and seeing the whole thing.
Right.
It was pretty big too. It definitely stretched over top of all of us. It was pretty big. And then what kind of tops it off more is that after we told our mom, the newspaper came the next day, and she showed us the article in it, that it said that on the top head of it, it said Newcastle buzzed by triangle-shaped UFO. And that was the direction. Now, what the direction I seen it go in, as I got older, I started to realize that was the exact direction where Newcastle would have been, the way it headed. So that's kind of crazy too. But I think we should do hypnosis to kind of figure out any missing time, or why we have slightly different memories of it when we were both right there. We do
Right.
remember, both of us, and we do see that's weird too. Why would, you know what I mean? Why wouldn't I remember you standing in the circle with them too, and being like that if it was a placed memory? And same with you. Why would we have a memory of both of us being coherent and everybody else not?
Well, what
You
I
know what I
don't
mean?
understand from it either is, okay, who gathered the friends? Because I don't remember
I don't
calling
know.
anybody. And
No.
yeah, we just ended up all standing there. I don't remember pre-planning, because what's what we would do. We'd call
And meet up with, and
hey
just meet up there
John,
or something.
what are you doing? Do you know what so and so's doing? Back, because we didn't have cell phones, so I don't remember.
That's something for the hypnosis too, to figure out too, because yeah.
Because to gather that many people in one spot, we would have had to have made phone calls. Even just seeing someone walking down, if we would just saw Jonathan walking down the street and ran into him and was talking with him,
Yeah.
Gary was there. Who else was there? There was
Angie and TJ.
Angie. Yep,
See, I
TJ.
remember being in TJ's front yard. That's where I remember us standing, which was what, 50
That was
yards from
down.
where you remember?
Yeah, that was down way further than what I remember as being at the corner of that willow. I remember
By
watching the
John's
willow
house.
tree.
Yeah, at the corner of the road by John's house.
Mark.
John's house, yeah.
The story of the landline, yes.
You know what else is
Definitely.
crazy too is, has anybody ever watched that show, the ranch show? It's my girlfriend watches that. She started watching it.
Oh, on Prime? Yes.
Yeah, babe. What's the name of that show with the ranch?
Outer Range?
No, not the. It's like a documentary
Outer
show.
Range? Oh, it's a
What's the name of that show you
documentary?
watch with the
Oh,
ranch?
I watch Outer Range, but
Huh?
it's not documentary.
Skinwalker Ranch.
Yes, Skinwalker.
Okay, so what they see out there all the time, what they've claimed, and like, I mean, it's kind of crazy that the government bought that land and everything. But what they've noticed is the triangle-shaped UFOs and the skinwalkers being associated. Now, I write down from that whole situation there because we grew up there.
Interesting.
What's that?
Interesting. Oh, I said
Yeah. Okay.
interesting.
So
Sorry.
heading down the highway that we lived on there. This was many years later when I was, I believe I was like 16 or 17 or something like that, and I had my license. Driving with my girlfriend at the time, and I'm heading back to my house. It was late, and we're driving, and I see this thing. There's cornfields on both sides. I see this thing come blasting out of the cornfield and just shot corn all across the thing, right? All across and this was like a wider highway road. It was only double lanes, but it was a wider one. And it comes out of the cornfield, lands once in the center of the road, and leaps to the other side. And as I'm pulling out, and it was probably maybe like, I don't know. I see if with the car and the car lights on, it was only maybe like 30 feet in front of us. So I slow down after we seen it come out, and we pull up, and the hole it made in the cornfield was like, I could have pulled my car through and drove through it. And there's corn covering the whole road. And I'm like, what? And my girlfriend's seen it too. And we like sat there for a minute, like trying to kind of process like what the hell it looked like. And the closest thing that I could explain and the way it moved would have been like a werewolf, like from Underworld. And but it was like a brownish. And it wasn't no bear because bears don't move. I've seen bears in real life and they don't move like that. Like they don't leap like that and they don't have the arms and the shape like that, okay? So that was an experience I had there, and we like looked at the corn and the holes and stuff, and then so many years go by, and I'm sitting here talking to my girlfriend now, and sitting there wondering like if anybody else had seen anything like that. So I start searching it. People coming from there was a new veneer plant, wood plant down there, and at the same time people were leaving work from there, and people were coming from Mercer down into the same way I was going, and a group of people all seeing the same thing in that same exact area. Which is kind of crazy that it happened like years later, and then another sighting a couple years later. But for it to like the whole Skinwalker Ranch thing is because they associate the triangle-shaped UFOs and the Skinwalkers together. So I mean that kind of like, I don't know. I thought about that from being down there, that like we seen, and like I said, like back when we were younger, you never heard anybody say anything about a UFO shape other than uh you know a disc, or like a circle or whatever. Like there was never anybody ever talking about like triangle shaped UFOs at that time. But the thing that we seen was, and there's other situations too, like I don't know, maybe we'll get into that sometime. Like there's the house we grew up in, man. You guys wouldn't even believe the stuff we grew up with, like
Yeah.
spirit wise. Like
Yeah, I found the EVP recordings we made.
yeah.
Well, at least
And like
one of them anyway.
yeah, we don't like playing that for people because there's a lot of nasty stuff on there, I think. And the difference, like, how people play on shows like EVPs where you hear a voice, or they play those devices and you hear somebody kind of come through talking. We recorded EVPs that like you can hear them talking
angry.
clear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
and angry ones and people talking clear as day. But this is the thing. You can't listen to those voices unless you turn them up super loud. So a
It's in the
normal human
background
voice,
noise.
yeah, a normal human voice would blow your speakers out talking on it.
Yeah.
But their voices come through perfectly clear, like you're having a conversation with them. So, and then, but listen, the first recording we ever did in the attic though, I felt this like squeezing on my throat. I get that sometimes, and my mom used to talk about it. So I put my phone down at the side of the bed by my leg because I grew up feeling them in the attic all the time. He had his experiences up there too. But at the first recording I ever did was with my little red flip phone. I put it at the side of the bed because I felt like something was there. Recorded it, played it back, and it was like I put my phone in the face of just like a beast. And you could hear it breathe into the phone, and it was like I made it mad, and you can hear it running through the room just smashing stuff. That was one of the craziest recordings. It was the first one we ever did, and it was the craziest thing we've ever heard. And you could hear it just angry. It was just like a beast just smashing stuff. Running through, you could hear it run from one end to the other, like it would come back to the phone and be like growling.
Later on, he played that for me, and then we decided to record one later in the middle of daylight. And so we were asking stuff and just giving pause to let it respond or whatever. And then we're like, okay, let's play it back. And we hear this.
It's not smart.
We hear this huff and a growl and then it says turn it off. And then and then it goes turn it effing off now. And then you hear it walk away and come back towards us and huff. Yeah.
Yeah, all kind. And there were like at different spots too in the attic. If you recorded, like at the one end there was like this little small bathroom, and we recorded. And I always used to feel like someone, because like the way our dad's driveway was, like you'd pull in, and it was 3 stories, so like the attic window would be by itself, and it would overlook the driveway. And whenever you'd pull in, you kind of like always feel like someone was looking down at you. So we did a recording by that bathroom, and it was a woman, and she ends up saying something about Peach Street or something. And at the time, I was actually living on Peach Street in Erie, and there was some other things that we recorded from her. But at different spots in the attic, you could record something different, like
Like the
which is
time
the craziest.
when just after mom passed and we couldn't find her will, and you recorded the voice saying papers, or at least what we thought we saw was or thought we heard was papers.
Yeah, it was like it said it 3 times, but it was all 3 different voices. It was like that was yeah. That
and
one was
then
kind of weird.
then my wife at the time, she had a dream where this glowing orb led her over to my mom's sewing area, and so when she woke up, we checked, and that's where we found mom's will papers.
Yep.
And then the other thing too is like we never knew our grandpa, but every day, like, cause he used to sleep up there when he was younger, and I used to sleep up there when I was younger. But like when I would sleep up there, it would always get cold, and it still did. Like even when we were older, the house would always get cold around 3 a.m. No matter, like, dude, you could sit next to a heater, and the hot air wouldn't reach you at sometimes in that house. But I always used to go upstairs, and there was that one window that looked over our driveway, and then there was 2 small little cubby windows that overlooked the highway road on the other side. And you'd come up the steps, and if you went straight, you'd go to that one cubby window, and then down towards the bathroom there was the other cubby window, and then where the bathroom was at was over the driveway. Well, the second cubby window, like all my life living there, I would walk by and I would always feel like someone was looking at me. And what I could see in my head as I got older was a guy standing there in a brown suit, and his eyes were black, and he'd always be looking out that window, but whenever you'd walk by, he'd turn and look at you. So I lived with that for like ever. Didn't know anything, didn't know who he was. So when I got older, before my dad passed away, I was wondering about it because I seen it, and we stayed with him to take care of him for a while. So I started seeing that again and feeling that again. And I went to him and I said, Dad, I said, you know anybody who used to have a brown suit? And he was like, that brown suit. He was like, that was your grandpa's favorite suit. He used to wear it all the time. And yeah, so I started looking up, and he looks just like my nephew does now. Like before, my nephew was younger, but now that my nephew is grown up, he's got this curly hair, and what the guy looked like the old Italians that had the split in the center of their hair, kind of curly hair, and he had a brown suit with a little pocket kerchief in it, and that's exactly what he looked like. I never knew that because we never knew our grandpa. He passed away long before we got older and stuff, but come to find out, there was all because he was in the mafia too, and there was all kinds of stuff that had happened with like money, and um, my dad's house when he was little, they burned down his house a couple times because of stuff going on with the mafia and stuff. And when on our grandpa's deathbed, he had a whole bunch of money, and our dad was the firstborn, so the rules are he was supposed to take the money, continue on stuff, and you're supposed to live like that. Well, my dad refused all the money because he knew it was, he didn't want that tied to him with the negative money, the blood money and stuff. And so after Dad turned it down, one of the other bosses came and everything disappeared. But I'm assuming that's probably why he was always around there, because of my dad turning it down and not doing what he was supposed to do by their laws, I guess. But it's crazy, like, to find out all that stuff too after growing up and stuff and seeing it. But
it is. I agree.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's why his eyes were always black too, because of the things he probably did. And like we've experienced other stuff in that, like, man, we talk about going down because I guess somebody else bought it, and I'd like to go down and talk to the people and see if they've experienced anything there, because it was a real active house.
Yeah, like one night I got a watch from my sister for Christmas, and there was moisture that somehow got into the watch, and I took it down. My dad had a workshop downstairs in the basement, and so I took it down there. I took it apart. I was gonna, clean the inside of the glass and everything, put it back together. So I'm working on it, and I was talking to this girl at the time. This is after my divorce from my first wife, and I'm talking to her, and it was like maybe 2:30, almost 3 o'clock in the morning, and was having a conversation with her, and all of a sudden I hear, and then the only people in the house are my dad, who is at the time like 86 years old, and it's like 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's sleeping. Okay, and he's in the far bedroom, and on the same side of where, like, our living room, the main master bedroom shared a wall with the living room, and there's a hallway separating down the center of the house. Down in the basement, that room and the living room would have been like adjacent to where I was in the workshop. So I'm working, I got the watch back together, and I'm talking to her, and all of a sudden I hear what sounds like someone taking their heel and smashing it down in the middle of the living room floor as hard as they could, repeatedly, like they were trying to bust the floor. And I'm like, what the F is that? We're the only two in the house, and it's 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning, right? This is after my mom had passed. And I'm like, hold on, I gotta go see what this is. So I hang up with her, put my watch on, and I run as fast as I can up the stairs and bust open the door. and the only light that was lit, because like the top of the stairs opened into that hallway I was talking about that goes down the center, but at where the basement door was, it's a center point where if you go kind of diagonal straight, you go into the dining room doorway, and if you just turn to the right, the refrigerator will be in front of you, the side of it, and you turn further to the right and you're in the kitchen. And the only light that was on was we used to leave this light on above the kitchen sink. So that's the only illumination that's going on right now. The dining room's dark, and then if you go in the dining room on your immediate left, there's an archway that went into the living room. So I walk through, don't even turn any lights on, because I'm like, I don't want to scare whoever it is. Like, I want to come up on them. So I go through the dining room, turn, and go and expect to find some crazy person or my dad having some waking dream trying to smash through the floor, and there's nothing. And I'm like, what? Now I turn around and I go walking down the hallway, and my dad's bedroom door was closed, so I'm knocking on the door, and I'm like, Dad, no answer. I pound on the door. Now, my dad was a World War II Navy vet who served on battleships. So he's got really hard or trouble hearing. So I'm yelling at him like, Dad, pounding on the door. Finally, I hear, what? I'm like, who is pounding? He's like, what are you talking about? I'm sleeping. And I'm like, at that point, it's obvious he had not left his bedroom.
See, there's one time too, like I was never really, like, even when older, like, I guess when I was younger, I was there by myself a few times, but the only time, like, when I was older that I was there by myself is my girlfriend drove my dad and his new wife to his appointment, and I was there 6 in the morning. They had left, and I think it was about like 7. I was sleeping on the couch, and like I would always could tell that something was around too because of the squeezing on my throat. Like I can't, it'll keep bugging me until I sit up. So I was just trying to sleep. I was tired and I kept feeling it, and I'm like, what the frick? So I get up and I'm in the house all alone, and I'm like, all right, start recording in the living room. And I'm walking around. I'm like, all right. I said, you want to talk? Let's talk. So I go around, and being in the house by myself, go around the house. I go up into the attic, and I'm standing up there. Didn't say nothing, just waiting, just recording. I'm just waiting. Then I go back downstairs, and I play it, and I didn't really get anything through the house. But then as soon as I got up into the attic, I hear, he said, we don't want to talk. And I think there was something, he said something else first, but I don't remember offhand, but I do remember, like, he said, he like answered me basically. Like they were just playing with me just to irritate me and fuck with me. Like that was one of the craziest recordings too, and I was there by myself. I was like, damn. It just made me think about like when I was little too, like as a kid sleeping up there, you could feel I used to have to sleep with the covers like all the way up to my eyes because it was that beast too that you could kind of feel like it was always like something was there pressing on you. Um, and just like I don't know, being a kid, you kind of don't understand. You know what I mean? You just think it's like it's the way everybody teaches you. You just think like you're just scared or something. You know, it wasn't really nothing. But then as you get older, like you realize like
All the
yeah, there was
stuff that you
something
were experiencing.
tormenting.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
every time you walked past, like if let's say, like I used to stay up because they would play the original series on Friday nights right after the 11 o'clock news. So I would stay up and try to catch an episode of the original series. Well, you know, that's pushing midnight, 1 o'clock, you know, and I'm walking to go to the refrigerator to get a snack or whatever. But at any time you would walk past the hallway down at the end, it was like someone was standing there watching you.
Yeah. And every shadowy part of the house, you would feel it. If you walk the bottom of the attic steps, like I still get chills just even saying it. Like if you stood at the bottom of them steps, especially when you were a younger kid, like dude, your entire body would have goosebumps and you'd have a
I got
chill
goosebumps
going
right
down
now
your spine.
just
Yeah, just
remembering.
thinking about it. Yeah, like because it's so ingrained. Like none of us would ever. Like
I almost
as
missed,
I
like before this conversation, I almost missed, like had to recall feeling like that, like being watched
yeah
all the time,
yeah
or like
like by
you're just
something
walking,
nasty though.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's just like, why, like you get that feeling like, why stop looking at me?
Yeah, like you're looking up, like, and that's the thing, like, I just repeatedly keep getting chills, like, just thinking about it, because, like, as a kid too, growing up, like, you would stand at the bottom of the steps, and it would be all dark up there, and you could just feel something just looking down, like, basically, like, come up here, you know what I mean? Like, just a nasty, dark, dark feeling, like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Uh,
Yeah,
a,
I haven't felt like that in a long time too.
a bit
Yeah.
of information about the house is it's
I've
in an area that was part of the Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
like I've had a lot of like oh, I would say many spiritual experiences in my life. Probably more than most people. Um, and on occasion there has been malevolent ones before, right? Um, so I definitely get that as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, only people
So
like yeah.
so uh, I only believe that because like I've experienced it, right?
Yeah,
Um,
there's a lot of people who wouldn't believe a lot of that. But
I
right.
if
have,
you've experienced it,
I,
you know.
Yeah.
I have, and I used to have several because I would take the EVPs off of his phone, or even I caught one myself on my iPhone 3G that I had at the time. Was a little. I asked, is there anybody here? And a little girl answered, uh, "I'm here," and that was the only time I caught an EVP on my own phone. But he would get and it all depends on the electronics too, because when they do
Well,
EVPs, they need to have
certain
background
things, yeah.
noise to
Yeah.
manipulate.
Yeah,
So
but I don't even think that it was really work. Because of how loud we turned it, like I don't even it didn't sound electronic at all. Like how like you hear EVPs on like shows and stuff. Like it comes through like even those spirit boxes where it uses the static for them to communicate. It wasn't like it was like they were literally talking like right next to the phone or talking into the phone to you. Like they're
some of them,
clear as day voices. Well,
right,
most of them. The chanting, there was a lot of chanting. Like there was like I don't know. There was like a ton of people just in the background sometimes, just like
right.
saying
Like the
stuff.
one that I have, the one that I salvaged, as I used to have them on my one laptop hard drive, and I tried to keep them backed up. But on the other hand, also I was afraid of keeping them because
Yeah, them
I don't
hanging
know
anywhere around
enough
you.
about, like, I'm messing with something that I feel like I shouldn't be messing with, and
Yes.
I don't know how that plays into nowadays technology. So like, yeah, if you play their voices, things can attach if they're
Yeah.
chanting stuff, or I don't want bad stuff attached to me, especially now, because like I've broken away from that, because when we were listening to these at the time, like
Oh.
everything was kind of good, and then as we started, it kept doing it, like
Yeah.
life turned to shit. Now I know there was a lot of outside forces that were involved in that, but like relationships and
Still, you
stuff
could
turned.
tell.
Yeah,
That's why we never really wanted anybody like our cousin Chris listened to him like, but we kind of warned him beforehand, and um, before we'd listen to them with people, we just would let them know and
like, yeah, I
shit.
have the file. It's one that I have the original from the phone, straight from the phone, and then I have the one where I did some audio work to it to kind of just bring the levels up so you could hear more clearly what was going on in the background, and try to limit, like cut off any loud noises and stuff, so that, because you're increasing the volume, so you don't want like somebody talking or something to just come blaring through.
I remember the one recording where the two guys were talking, and the one guy, we were standing at the top of the steps, and it sounded like he had run up the steps, and he says to the one guy, he says, "Do you want me to kill all the kids?" And the other guy says, "Not right now." Which, now that I think about that, because we had talked about this not too long ago, the people that our parents bought the house from, I was like 6 years old, and I remember these people. Their last name was Boneses, and they were really religious, but I don't know what religion they were into, but they were really religious and strict, real strict, and they had two sons. And the first time we ever got brought there to see the house, they brought us directly upstairs. And there was like a box of old toys, and the boys were up there, and I just remember like being 6 years old, like I really shouldn't like be thinking like that, but I remember like thinking like, man, this up here is kind of dark and weird, and these kids are weird, and the lady and the guy was weird. Like, it just didn't feel right. Um, but like the attic had all these cubbies too with doors,
They all
and
connected too.
yeah, and I'm wondering if there was if they were locking kids up there and stuff and doing
But
weird stuff
then
in that
again,
attic.
like I said, the house was part of the Underground Railroad, so kids can mean a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember getting woken up one summer day, hearing Civil War drums just banging, and I went to everybody and I'm like, "You hear that?" And I asked my mom, and no one heard it, and it woke me up. Like it's just like Civil War, like they were marching through and just doing the drum. I remember that one time. There was I was gonna tell you something else too. I forgot.
The one
There's
recording
so many
where
things that had
I remember
happened. Like,
I remember you stopped by, and this is when you had your Mustang, and you're like, "Listen to this! I just recorded it," and you were playing it, and it had like music, and then you're like, "But hold on," and then you turn the volume up louder, and then it was some guy saying, "Go eat downstairs." I remember that one. I wanted to take that one too and analyze it and see what else was on there, because like as you bring up the volume and stuff, you'll hear other stuff. It's
yep.
weird.
Yeah, those are definitely ones you couldn't. It would be like near impossible. Cause like too, turning it up, it would distort like a normal voice talking and recording it. It would get distorted and be super loud. So like to be able to fake something like that would be like, especially back then, you'd first off have to have a computer with like heavy abilities, like to even be able to make that. I don't even know if you'd be able to make it
No,
possible like that.
because
Yeah, I don't even think.
it's weird that like the microphone on that is only so sensitive. Like it sensitive to there's a bottom decibel level that microphones have, and it was a crappy Samsung. Was it No, Sprint. It was a Sprint phone.
Sprint, yeah.
From like the like not the earliest cell phones, but like from circa 2003, 2004.
Yeah, when they came out with the Nextel thing, when Nextel and Sprint got together.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that was
like
that one.
microphone wasn't like super high tech microphone. So for it to pick up a voice that is so low that it is below background noise, the background noise that I'm talking about is the background noise that electronic devices generate on their own. This is not like wind that you pick up.
No, yeah,
No,
it
it's
wasn't
internal to the device. Like you can't hear that with your ear.
No.
So these
Yeah, that
voices are
wouldn't have been
below that.
We had so many experiences like besides see, you remember how you just said too about the UFO turning and moving like that?
Mhm.
It reminds me like and I know a lot of people won't believe a lot of this stuff, but my neighbor came out and took pictures of it too, but me and my brother had a conversation on the phone, and it was during Obama's presidency. And I was up taking care of my dad at the time, staying there with him. And my niece and nephew were there, my girlfriend was there, and my dad was there, and it was during the day. It was sunny out, summertime. And we had like me and my brother had like a, I don't know, I'd say like a 10-minute phone call, if that. And we had been talking about working on a certain project, and I had been working on a couple things at the time, with I guess you could say like
Oxyhydrogen.
yeah, hydrogen and stuff, and using it to do certain things. But we had talked about making a certain thing for a certain type of vehicle, and by the time we hung up a phone, I grabbed my nephew's hand. He was little at the time. We walked outside the kitchen door, which was up further, and across our yard was our aunt's house, 1-story house. We walked down like 4 steps off the porch, and we're standing there, and all of a sudden, I see in my peripheral an object in the sky swoop around my aunt's trees in the backyard, and it comes around over top and then circles to the front of me and is about roof level. So it's 1 story off the ground, and it's an Apache helicopter, and all blacked out. There was no symbols, no markings on it. The windows were blacked out, and it's sitting roof level. And I'm like, what the fuck? And he's pointing right at me, and he sits there for a minute, and we take a step over, and he follows us. We take a step back, he followed us, and I tell my nephew to run. He didn't, because he's just staring at it. And he's sitting there for a minute, and I'm like, what is he doing? And he turns to the left to show me the side. He turns to the right and shows me it, and then he pulls back forward. And he's sitting there for a second, and then he points the nose down. And when they go to use that cannon in the front, or when they're moving forward, they tilt down. So he tilts down, goes towards me over top of me, circles back around that yard, and heads back the way he came. And like them, you can't hear them. You can't hear them or feel wind from them until they are directly on top of you. Like that big of a vehicle, and like you'd think you'd hear it, right? But no, not until it does. You cannot hear that thing until it's right on top of you. And the neighbor comes running out. She had taken pictures of it as it was going away, and like we were just like, we were just, my girlfriend at the time too was like, what was that about? And as the only thing I seen on that was a very, very light Pittsburgh Steelers symbol on the belly of it. So that they had to have flown out of Pittsburgh, which from there was like an hour something car ride. So by the time we were done with our conversation on the phone, unless it was flying in the area, which really at the time they really aren't allowed to fly those, especially armed. They're not allowed to be flying those in civilian areas like that. Especially not threatening a civilian like that either. But we had talked. That's what we were talking about. Actually, was that vehicle and means of countering them. And that's why I'm assuming they flew something like that there.
Basically, to say, yeah, this is what you're gonna fight.
Yeah. And he showed me everything on it, and he just took back off. It was there like in minutes. That which is the craziest thing. Like, and my nephew was when he was younger, and he was like, "We should have went in the house." I said, just the rounds from the machine gun would have cut through a brick house, like
Yeah, it would have laid that house
like
out.
it was nothing. Yeah, they could have folded the house in like nothing.
In a few seconds,
But
it'd have been, and then that house would have just been.
and that's it.
Yep.
Even if you were down in the basement in the bottom of a 3-story brick house, it would have just been like nothing. They would have caved the house in, and that would have been it. See, those are the things like, and I know people don't believe that, but I'm friends on Facebook with the neighbor that came out and took the pictures. She sent them to me. It was as it was flying away, but and my nephew, both my niece and nephew were there. My girlfriend was there at the time. It was a bright sunny day, which was kind of crazy that they would just do that. But we also remember my brother. I kind of remember it vaguely because I was so young. But my mom and him remember helicopters coming to the house all the time, which it just reminds me of another thing.
Happened the one time. It woke me up out of sleep. It was like literally circling the house, and like almost like it was on the roof of the house. It was that close.
That's crazy. And we kind of joke about it, but and I've recorded it. I actually, but what was it, like last summer, a couple months back, that the Apache was over this house.
Mm-hmm.
There's an Apache and a AC-130.
I joke. Did you ever see the movie Goodfellas?
Where he's looking out the.
Or yeah, Ray
He's like, "They're
Liotta's
watching me, they're
character is
watching me."
looking out his. Keeps seeing that helicopter.
Well, besides those coming by the house too, I like on a daily basis, and this is I moved 2 different places, and this happens on a daily basis. And there is a hospital in town and stuff, but it will fly. I'll have a hospital helicopter fly over my house, like at least twice a day, if not more than that. And that was I used to live down in town, so I kind of like wrote it off as like maybe I don't know.
No,
They're
it's
always
'cause you're
taking off in
downtown.
that direction. Yeah. But then as soon as I moved out here, they'll go over my backyard and my house all the time. So and they can't be leaving from the hospital down there and always going this direction now. Like it just don't make sense.
It's so obvious.
Yeah, it don't make sense. But I know people probably think I'm paranoid, but I could record them all the time. I actually have recorded them. And there's there's a lot more stuff, but it's getting late, so.
Yeah, I have.
I didn't even mean to get into all that too, but
Darn Tim Pool and his article here. I kind of want to let him talk about it a little bit more because I'm curious because I didn't finish this. I want to see. It looks like he's got a document.
Is a horrific picture of revenge on the part of an extraterrestrial creature, a picture that makes one's blood freeze. The agency added that the extremely menacing case proved the aliens who visited
This has
Earth
got to
possessed
be an
weapons
April
and
Fool's
technology
thing or something.
far beyond the U.S. government's assumptions, suggesting they were already aware of the aliens' existence. The unearthed document, declassified in 2000, was recently the topic of the AI or Evil podcast, where host Josh Hooper revealed that 2 of the soldiers at the UFO crash site actually survived. The 23 petrified soldiers could not be saved. Their remains and the debris from the spacecraft were reportedly moved to a secret research base near Moscow. An even more detail, whatever, typo, of the CIA file is description of the aliens reportedly involved in the massacre has been mentioned in UFO reports and sightings for nearly 80 years. Take a look at this. Here's a document. Look at this picture. Come on, dude. And there is a flaming alien ship with a gray alien, very upset. The subject of the document states, paper reports alleged evidence on mishap involving UFO. The extraordinary tale was also published in the Ukrainian newspaper Holos Ukraini on March 27, 1993. The incident, which a Canadian newspaper believed took place between 1989 and 1990, was only uncovered by the CIA after the fall of the Soviet Union and its secret police organization, the KGB. The CIA document explained that the alleged alien craft was flying low and quietly above the Soviet unit while they were engaged in a training mission. Officials wrote that for unknown reasons, the Soviets launched a surface-to-air missile at the UFO, sending it crashing to the Earth.
I think we know why.
Yeah.
According to the only 2 soldiers who survived, when the soldiers approached the craft, the 5 aliens freed themselves of the debris, came close together near the wreck. Moments later, the soldiers said the group of aliens merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape. In simpler language, the alien being somehow morphed into a giant ball.
Almost like a nanite shaped.
That's when the
They
new
have that.
ball-like
They have
alien
drones like
began
that
to
now,
buzz
though.
and hiss before igniting into a brilliant white light. With the soldiers still looking on, the ball of light erupted like a giant flare of energy, turning 23 of the 25 Soviets into stone poles. The report stated that the only reason 2 of the men survived was because they were standing in a shaded area at the time of the alien energy blast. Wow. Testing of the soldiers' bodies showed the alien flare had somehow changed living tissue into a substance that closely resembles limestone. The CIA document added that a source of energy that is still unknown to Earthlings was responsible for the blast, which fatally transformed the Soviets. Even in 2025, the science behind such a shocking transformation is still difficult to explain medically and technologically. According to the Journal of Applied Physics, it is possible to use high-energy radiation or electromagnetic pulses to change normal matter into plasma, a form that's not liquid, solid, or gas. Yeah, you're basically supercharging the particles. In the report, the CIA described the aliens as short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes that morphed into a giant sphere and fired an energy blast. Their feature, they say the account matches what UFO researchers alleged UFO researchers alleged alien abductees and others who believe in alien life refer to as a race called the Greys. Their features have become the classic image of the public thinks when discussing aliens from outer space. A small, skinny, gray-skinned alien with an oversized head and large black eyes with no iris. The Greys would eventually become linked to the infamous Roswell incident, blah, blah, blah. We get it. These strange creatures would also go on to represent alien life in countless science fiction. Yeah, we get it. Okay, I don't believe it for a second. What I will say is, look at all these stories that they have actually on Daily Mail as I'm passing through this. Flat Earthers in shambles after seeing new footage of our planet. Okay. I don't know that it's completely false, right? I don't believe it. I think you're more likely to encounter the Soviet Union planting false documents to upset and terrify the United States.
Or it's like in Men in Black 2 where they got that video from they had to change names and places. But the story's real.
I don't know. The more and more they
Above ground,
the more and more they work with quantum physics, and they're like things aren't, they don't follow normal stuff. Like the more we're finding out and the more researching, the less we know. Like it's I don't know. There's just so many things out there that we don't know about, and I mean a lot of the stuff I've seen firsthand. So I don't totally believe a lot of stuff because people put a lot of crap out there, but I don't totally disbelieve it all. I mean, look, before these past few years, everybody tried to make everybody believe that UFOs weren't real, but that now we have our government literally saying they're real because they're not from this earth. Nobody built them. The way they work and act are completely outside of all of our technology, and there's documented documents that have been released about it. So I mean, people can't say that they don't exist and they're not real. You kind of would have to be pretty arrogant to think that, like, with an unlimited amount of planets and stuff and solar systems, that Earth is the only one that has any type of life on it.
Right. And our neck of the galaxy is fairly young compared to the rest, so.
Mm-hmm. And then they just found it's like a sea creature that, did you see that article? That it doesn't need oxygen at all? Or doesn't need water at all? I think it doesn't need water at all in its body at all. And it still survives. I believe that's what it is, because they were talking about it being possible to have creatures on other planets that don't need water at all.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking for planets that have water, thinking that's the component of
where
life.
life comes from. Yeah.
But
yep.
We don't know enough about the galaxy to know that in reality, it might be that water living creatures are the least
thing on this planet. Yeah.
the least form of life in the universe.
Well, we don't even know enough about our own planet to even make assumptions about outside of it.
Right.
We haven't explored the entire thing at all. Not even
we
close.
We haven't even explored our own solar system.
No.
We barely landed on the moon.
Yeah. And you see how they sent that the satellite that actually touched the sun actually went into the closer layers of the sun. Did you see that? Yeah.
That's actually that sounds pretty outrageous because you'd think it would have melted
Melted
or
it.
incinerated long before it got that close.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to look. Maybe we can talk about it tomorrow. Cause yeah, I read that that they had got close enough to get the makeup of it.
I don't
Which
know.
I don't know though, because that air I can't remember what it's called, but it's as strong as almost as strong as steel. It's as light as a feather, and it's made up of 99% air. But you can build with it. Have you ever seen that? It's like an aerogel. Have you
Yeah, I
seen
think
like
I do
yeah,
recall seeing
and
stuff.
it doesn't heat up. Yeah, you could. It does not heat up at all. Like it won't melt. It doesn't burn. And it's made of 99%.
Yeah,
Of
but the
air.
problem is it is it completely insulating the heat?
I don't know. That's what
Because
I mean. Like
components
they.
encased in it would still, if it doesn't completely
Oh
insulate the
no, it
heat.
doesn't. Heat does not go pass through it.
That's interesting.
They put he put it in front of a
Thermal camera.
a high powered torch, yeah,
Oh.
with his hand behind it, and sat it there, and it doesn't transfer heat through it. I'll have to
Yeah, but
see if you
when
can
you think
find that.
about how powerful the sun is, that it can burn
Yeah.
you here,
That's why
and
I was like,
it's 8
I
minutes
couldn't
away
believe it.
by the speed of light. And
That's
it's
what I was
yeah,
thinking. I'm like, how did they
through our
get?
atmosphere and everything, it can still burn you. That's powerful. And our sun is like small compared to stars just out in the galaxy. That's a
Yeah,
lot of
hold
energy.
on. NASA makes history with closest ever approach to the sun. BBC News. The satellite survived. Yeah, I knew I read that. But I don't like to, like, you remember when President Trump was talking to people, like when they tried to laugh at him and make fun of him talking about them seeding hurricanes and stuff, with the nuclear bombs and stuff. I grew up, when I was younger, I watched the entire documentary on Discovery when I was younger on that very specific topic of them using nuclear bombs to seed hurricanes, and they were experimenting, and then they used it in Vietnam, and everybody tried to laugh at him, but like, and then I went to search for it, and I couldn't find anything on it. But then now, years later, it starts resurfacing again. Like, I don't like how they do stuff like that.
Right. Here's what you're talking about, I think, from December.
Yes. 3.8 million miles above the sun's surface of the sun.
And look at how close it looks like but the sun it's that far away. It's just so big that it
And
looks
it moved at 430,000 miles per hour. How? Like, you know what I mean? Like how? Like this is stuff that like they're making satellites like that.
So I don't know if you guys can read that. I don't know if how well that's coming through.
See,
But
that's what we're gonna start seeing a lot more, because they've been using AI to create and make so much stuff for so many years, probably at least 50 years back by now. You know what I mean? That now we're just starting to catch up with the AI, and it's starting to be public and to people and stuff. That they've been using that stuff, because if they're coming out with crazy stuff like this, like.
Hold on, is there a link to that webpage?
Yeah. You want me to just put it in off topic here?
Sure.
Parker Solar Probe. Yeah, that's December 27th, 2024.
December 24th.
Yeah, and that just like that was months ago, and like I just now like seen anything about that. Like I had not seen anything before about that at all.
Yeah, I remember watching a thing on the this probe they sent all the way to Pluto, and they actually lost it a couple times.
Didn't it still end up coming back though? Or they
Coming
ended up
back?
getting
No,
or transmitting the information though. They still ended up getting it or something.
Yeah, because the documentary was kind of interesting because apparently they miscalculated, so they basically had to recalculate and then also move to a different part of the world in order to get the signal.
Yeah, look
Yeah.
at
Crazy.
how it shows how far we're 93 million miles away from the sun, and yet it can go. Its radiation can go through our atmosphere and give you a sunburn.
Burn
It can
you.
even kill you.
Yeah. And that thing's sitting even at 3 million miles away from it. How is that
1,400 degrees Celsius.
surviving?
That's
And then like they talk about like, see, they used to send stuff to the moon and have signals coming back, but we're still having trouble with drop signals in places. Like it just doesn't add up, you know.
that's
And
2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, 2,550.
That's crazy. And the speed of it. They're talking about it going 435,000 miles per hour.
Yeah. Well,
Like
it launched and then they probably slingshotted it around Earth to get the momentum.
I was gonna say, I bet you they did like you do an obstacle course with the cones. They went through around each one of the planets.
Yep.
Wow, though. Think of like that's crazy. That is crazy. Going that fast too. Any like how do they counter for that? Like any particles or small meteors or anything, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. If it hits it, yeah. Cuz they showed shoot, I had it. Hold on. Let me see if I have this cuz I saved a picture of it cuz it was like, "Oh, that's freaking crazy." Let me see if I can find out. Come on, phone. What the hell? Yeah, it was on. I don't know if I can. How am I gonna get this over here? Hold on. I know what I'll do.
it's amazing that like it's crazy. Crazy stuff.
Give me 1 second here. I'll have it post.
I think within the like look at how quick AI and home robots are coming along. Like the next 5 years, like they're gonna be everywhere. Like, and then they're gonna start taking over most of the jobs. So like people, I think that's what this is about too. Like all the digital stuff. I don't like that it's so easily controllable, but I am glad it's based now here in America because people will have to kind of follow suit, and at least people here will still have freedom with their crypto and stuff. But like things are gonna be advancing fast.
Let me see where I've saved that. Oh, right there. Hold on. I got it.
Can you imagine when we get like, and we're not very far off. We're actually really not very far off. Where instead of having to transplant a probe into your brain, you'll be able to, they'll have a device that will put like all the information from the internet into your brain. Just
or just give you
transmitting it
access to it. Yeah.
to it, yeah, at all times. Can you imagine like what the world would be like?
Okay. I don't know how that looks.
I don't know if I'd want. I don't know if I'd want all the dank memes floating around in my
Yeah.
brain.
all the negative, all the negative crap.
Right.
You'd be like, no, overload.
So yeah, I saw this on my feed. So
remember that.
this is how a block of aluminum looks after a 1-inch piece of plastic hit it in space with a speed of 15,200 miles per hour. A piece of plastic.
Crazy.
That's
aluminum.
Yeah, and that's not even that's not even a fourth of the speed that the satellite's traveling.
That's what I mean. So the satellite's traveling that fast, and if an object through space is traveling like the same speed, like that's a massive amount
of energy, right?
Yeah. And then what about all the debris that's just floating around the outside of the Earth? Like, how do they get? Like, I don't know. It's all just kind of crazy.
Right.
There's got to be a lot more than they even remotely lead on about, because
yeah,
they're starting to come up with things.
A floating nut or a bolt from a previous mission just floating in space gets in the path of that thing, and that's curtain. It would fall
I
apart.
also thought it was kind of funny that the astronauts supposedly got stuck up there. Like, there wasn't, like, I don't know, more of a reasoning behind it. Like, I think
Biden administration didn't want to give a win to Elon because Elon was supporting Trump.
So they had to stay up there until
if I was those astronauts, I would never ever vote Democrat again. Ever. My kids, my grandkids would never. Like, this is what they did to me.
That's a common theme nowadays, like that. Like, there's so many things that the Democrat policies have done to a lot of people. Like, it should sink into a lot of people's heads. Like,
so, yeah, and then
oh my,
piece of shit. That's what he is.
Well, that one that got caught for firebombing the one, he got 20 years. And probably a whole ton of other stuff. I think they declared him as terrorist, so he's probably sitting in a special cell. But the thing is I bet you they're not getting treated as bad as the January 6th people.
Right. Yeah, they got the worst treatment for nothing.
For nothing.
Relatively nothing.
Yeah. Well, being coerced too, like it really, like, they've proven that there was a lot of agents there that coerced the whole situation.
Coerced, yeah. Yeah. Instigated and like, yeah.
Egged on, yep.
To create a negative public image
situation. Yep.
Of MAGA.
You want to wow. It's 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
You want to take a pause there and
yeah, this
start
was
up tomorrow?
I like doing these. It's fun.
Yeah. It's crazy though too that you talked about that feel. Like, yeah, I really have not had that feeling for years, for a long time, until I
Right. You live in that area, in that environment, and it just becomes like, oh, get that feeling like somebody's watching you from down the hallway or in the room or something. And then it's not until you're out of that environment that you realize that that's not normal.
It's not normal. Yep. Yeah, like I said, growing up sleeping like that as a kid, like, I just thought like it was just me being paranoid and scared. But then as I got older, I realized, no, it was just me being tormented.
The house.
Yep. But all right, well, yeah, I'm get on tomorrow. It was good.
Yeah.
Good talking to you guys.
Yep.
Maybe we can actually get on and play some games at some point. I did do my dailies in Star Trek, but
I'm doing that right now. I'm trying to finish my dailies. Like, I got on like at like what time did I? Oh, it is like 2:26. What the crap? I got on at like what, like 10 or 11 at night almost with you guys because I
Right.
was I was redoing my I like moved my desk in my room and stuff and to make it better, just kind of to change it up.
Yeah, I've got a MRI at 9 o'clock in the morning. So.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Wow. All right, fellas. Well, I will talk to you guys later.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here, let me stop this. All right. Yeah. I'll be on. I have tomorrow off. I took it off to do the MRI thing and some other stuff that I got to do, but I should be on. So, all right. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Have a good night, Shmuel.
Thanks. You too.
Ever
Amy,
wondered how to bind keyboard keys to your gamepad buttons? The answer lies within a nifty tool called XPad One, available from the Microsoft Store. With this clever piece of software, you can not only bind your keyboard keys to gamepad buttons, but also control your mouse with the analog sticks. To kick things off, you'll need to create a game profile. This may sound technical, but it's as easy as pressing 2 buttons at the same time. Within any game, press the guide button and the start menu button simultaneously. Voila! You've just created a game profile. Now, the real magic begins. It's time to bind a keyboard key. The process is straightforward. Press and hold the guide button for 2.5 seconds. Don't worry about timing it perfectly because you'll hear a prompt. Next, press the desired keyboard key you want to bind to the selected gamepad button. And that's it. You've successfully bound a keyboard key to a gamepad button. If during the key binding you change your mind, after you have selected a gamepad button, you can press a different gamepad button and bind to the newly chosen button instead. At any time during the key bind process, you can cancel the key binding by simply pressing the selected gamepad button a second time, or press it twice if you have only started the binding process and have not selected a button yet. But remember, practice makes perfect. The more you use XPad One, the more intuitive it becomes. This software is designed to be easy to use, but also powerful, giving you the ability to customize your gaming experience to suit your playstyle. So, why not give XPad One a whirl? It's a game changer, quite literally. Whether you're a seasoned gamer looking to switch things up, or a newbie trying to find your footing, this tool can make a world of difference. Bind your keyboard keys to your gamepad buttons, control your mouse with the analog sticks, and take your gaming to the next level. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Dive in, experiment, and see what XPad One can do for you. After all, the only limit is your imagination. Happy gaming.